Welcome, everybody, back into NerdSesh. As always, I'm Carson Brabber, and alongside me is Logan Camden, and we have a full, wild Saturday of playoff basketball to talk about with you guys today, including an absolutely crazy game to wrap up the night. The Minnesota Timberwolves take a 3-1 series lead over the Denver Nuggets, in spite of the fact that Donte DiVincenzo tears his Achilles in this game. Anthony Edwards injures his knee in this game, but Ayo Dosunmu steps up and scores 43 points off the bench. That is the second most in NBA playoff history, and the Wolves get it done. Logan, was this more of a testament to the Timberwolves? Was this more damning about the Denver Nuggets? What was your big takeaway from this game?
I mean, I think it's definitely a combination of both, but I do want to just give credit to Minnesota. What a special win for this team, man. I mean, a resilient victory. Like, at any moment in the first half, this team could have chosen to fold and fall apart considering their, circumstances. Like DiVincenzo going down, likely tearing his Achilles, Anthony Edwards hyperextending his knee. It's incredible. Like, and Julius Randle didn't even have a great game, right? Like, if you were going to pencil out like guys who were going to carry this offense, Randle gives you 15 on 6 of 16 shooting. Anthony Edwards goes 1 of 8 when he's on the court. Donte plays under 2 minutes in this game, and Ayo in this defense just carry. Like, Ayo was phenomenal. I think it has to be the best game I've ever seen Ayo play in his NBA career. I mean, everything going in this game, the jump shooting from behind the arc, the intermediate game, the floaters, the transition play, the defense too. Like, literally everything was going for Ayo in this game. And then in the second half, I thought a big component of why why this game was very even heading into the end of the first half was the fact that the Nuggets offense was so good at protecting the basketball and not just gifting Minnesota opportunities. And then the second half, it's like the floodgates just open up where Minnesota is putting pressure on them, forcing turnovers. Denver is just uncharacteristically sloppy sometimes and gives them some easy ones. Jokic was horrible in the fourth quarter. I thought that Gobert did a great job on him. But the story of this game is Ayo Dosunmu, and it's just one of the most resilient and impressive victories I've seen from a team all year long, considering the circumstances, man, against, again, a Nuggets team that had Aaron Gordon back tonight, man. This is a statement win for Minnesota, and I pray and hope for their sake that Anthony Edwards is going to be good to go the rest of these playoffs, because this is I don't know, man. This is a win that's going to bring, I think, Minnesota a ton of momentum, and they're riding high right now.
It's an incredible team win. And we talked about game 2 as being a testament to their collective athleticism and physicality and the depth and the number of different contributors who can step up in any game. And then game 3 was even more of that. And then they had to push it to another level in this one with Ant going down, who has struggled all series, who obviously has been dealing with the injury on one knee. Now he hyperextends the other knee, which is just a really unfortunate situation. And the dudes just consistently step up, man. Ayo is such a good basketball player. He is a ridiculously good player to have coming off of your bench. It was one of my favorite additions at the deadline that they made, but my God, like you said, he can do everything. I mean, he's a weapon in transition, out of pick and roll. He can hit pull-up threes. He's a weapon from floater range. He's so quick with the ball, can get all the way downhill and finish. He's a solid playmaker. He's a great catch and shooter. He competes defensively. Like, the guy just has this phenomenal fusion of athleticism and skill. And then you have Naz Reid, who was really big in the first half of this game and is such a unique offensive weapon coming off the bench. Like, those two guys combined for 60 points. Those two guys coming off the Minnesota bench outplay Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic in this basketball game. It's an incredible win for Minnesota. It's also such a bad loss for Denver, and it's really hard for me to watch this game and watch this series and not come away with the same conclusion for Denver that we had last year in the playoffs, that we had 2 years ago in the playoffs, but just feel more certain about it than ever before. We are looking at this NBA right now where the teams that are running the league are so athletic and they are so deep. And Denver, for the third straight year, is getting physically and athletically dominated. It's what happened against Minnesota in 2024. It's what happened against OKC last year, and it's happening again this year. And a lot of that manifests itself in these amazing defenses wearing down their offense and limiting the effectiveness of Jokic and Murray, which has obviously been a huge story in this series. Murray was better today. Jokic was just unacceptably bad for the third straight game, especially in that fourth quarter. But it manifests itself in so many different ways. If it's the transition battle, the defense into offense battle, like you said, Denver was phenomenal at limiting turnovers in this game until they weren't. And then it was like the floodgates open. And there are teams that just have an ability to pressure you, to overwhelm you physically, and that jump starts them on both ends. And Denver is consistently the team getting overwhelmed. And I think part of it is their two best players both consistently sort of fighting uphill battles athletically, but it's also the entirety of the construction of this roster. Like, they just don't have many plus athletes. And as I'm watching this Minnesota team that can pick up full court, that has so many strong defenders on the perimeter, that gets rim protection from multiple positions, they can defend on a string and rotate so quickly. And then they also have dudes offensively who can put the ball on the floor and attack closeouts and drive and get out in transition. It just leads to more versatile basketball players who can impose themselves on the game in more ways. Whereas you look at Denver and it's like, if Murray and Jokic get overwhelmed physically, this offense is pretty much going to break down because they don't have a lot of dudes who can make plays with the ball. I mean, their three-point shooting was unacceptably bad in this game. They need more out of a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr., who just had a really, really rough night. And then defensively, they're always fighting an uphill battle because they don't have the rim protection. They aren't great at containing the ball one-on-one. They're not going to get a lot of those defense into offense opportunities where they're forcing steals or they're getting a big block. Like, it's just such a dramatic juxtaposition between them and Minnesota and between them and the team that is handing it to them for the third straight year in the playoffs. And this is without Ant on the floor. This is without Dante on the floor. This is a team that still is just so much more collectively athletic than you, and they're deeper than you. And that's what keeps getting you beat. And honestly, I look at this series and I'm like, how does Denver contend until they figure that out? How do they contend again until they are able to contend more seriously in these athletic categories? Because the half-court offense is great, but it's not carrying its weight against these amazing defenses. And a big part of that is playoff physicality ramps up, these defenses lock in, and they're just overwhelming athletically.
Yeah, and I don't know how we can't draw these conclusions after seeing this over and over again, right? Like, this is a consistent trend and a pattern with Denver in, like you're talking about, the way they're losing. I want to ask you, because you're talking about broadly about the success about a lot of these teams in the playoffs this year. Do you think that's the number one indicator for playoff success among teams in the NBA right now? Like, is that above all else, like the A1 trait to have, to bank on?
I don't know about specifically playoff success. I think it was the A1 trait to being an awesome basketball. This team was being super athletic and phenomenal defensively and dominating in transition and being really deep. I mean, if you look at the 360 win teams, that's what they all did. Now, I think you've seen the vulnerabilities that Detroit has because their half court offense is so limited. And that is the price you sometimes pay for being so athletically and defensively oriented. San Antonio, we'll see how they hold up. And then OKC is just this juggernaut team. So I don't know if I want to go that far, but what I will say is there are more teams in today's NBA than there were even 2-3 years ago who are insanely athletic, who are unbelievable defensively, who are super deep. And those are the teams that keep beating Denver. And that is the category that keeps on standing out.
Yeah, and I mean, it just puts such a burden, like you're talking about, on the Nuggets to consistently execute and not just be great offensively, but be basically perfect. And when they can't hold up to that standard, they just can't they can't sustain it. I mean, dude, in the fourth quarter of this game, the Denver Nuggets go 3 of 16 from the field, 1 of 8 from deep, and they have 5 turnovers. I'm going to ask you this then on Denver. Are we at like we have to tear this thing like down? Like, is that the conclusion that we have to? I mean, dude, this is a damning loss for the Denver Nuggets, considering, again, Aaron Gordon got back out there tonight. Anthony Edwards left the game early. Dante DiVincenzo was out in the first quarter. Like, dude, the starters for the Minnesota Timberwolves in this game gave you, I mean, what, dude? 27. They gave you 36 points. This is
Yeah,
embarrassing. I am
it totally is.
embarrassed for the Denver Nuggets. This is a damning loss for Jokic, a damning loss for this team, and it just makes me take a long step back and wonder if I need to reconsider how high I've had this team as, and consider them as contenders, and just like how dramatically they may need to completely retool this roster to find success again with Jokic as their best player. They just seem so far away, man. Like, and this is the thing, right? I could see them getting through Minnesota. This was an inevitability for Denver at a point in these playoffs. Right. It is more damning that it happened in these kind of circumstances, but we kind of knew that this was going to happen. So,
yeah. I don't want to say that Denver is dead. And the reason I don't want to say that is because I don't know if Anthony Edwards is going to play again in this series. And if Ant doesn't play again in this series, like, there is a world where Denver wins 3 straight. And the reason I say that is, as much as I do think all of the problems we've highlighted have been very, very real, and you just can't ignore it, and it does make me lower on this Denver team big picture. If Jokic plays better, they could have won this game. The 3-point shooting has been really down from them, and this is not a team that we've ever known as being a high-volume 3-point shooting team, but they were number 1 in the NBA by percentage this season, and Jokic going ice cold from 3. He didn't really take them in this game, but he did miss the ones that he did take. Tim Hardaway Jr. going ice cold in this game. Like, they just failed to convert those opportunities. Aaron Gordon just not looking anything like his usual self and not having the lift, and the Timberwolves were leaving him, and he couldn't make those shots. Like, there's a couple things that could swing their way, that could change this series. But that's the thing. It's what you're saying. The offense has to be so good in the skill categories. The margin for error this team has is minimal. And again, 3 straight years, the offense just hasn't been good enough against these elite defenses. 107 offensive rating a couple years ago against Minnesota. And it was like the same thing against OKC last year. And it's like the same thing in this series for a team that is posting a 120 plus offensive rating in the regular season, taking that sort of dive again. You're just not going to be able to overcome that. And how much of it is because of this team's ability to apply ball pressure, right? And just an insanely sticky point of attack, long athletic dude like Jaden McDaniels to stay attached to Jamal Murray at all times. And then the insane looming rim protection of a Rudy Gobert. And again, the collective rim protection, like Jaden McDaniels has been making plays around the rim, the size that they have, like they just have so many big athletic bodies, and the Nuggets just don't. They're going up against teams that are faster, that are more physical, and it's a massive problem for them. So I do think there's just an issue here in terms of the team construction. But again, it's like, what level of kick-ass athletes do you need to put around Jokic and Murray to really make this work at a championship level on both ends? Because I actually think the bar there is relatively high. And then also, I do want to talk about Jokic, because this is flat out unacceptable, man. Like, truly unbelievably bad stuff out of him. I want to give so much credit to Rudy Gobert, who has just had his number time after time in this series. Again, phenomenal one-on-one post defense, sitting on all of Jokic's moves, contending with him physically, not letting him move him around whatsoever. And then whenever Jokic does get an angle on him on like a drive or a cut or anything, like Rudy is there, just swallow up the attempt at the rim. And then when Jokic's touch shot making hasn't been dialed and his jump shot has been totally off, he is just having these brutal showings, but it's completely inexcusable. 0 for 6 in the fourth quarter tonight. 0 for 6. And on top of that, I mean, he had some really damaging plays that swung key possessions. He has at least 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter where he's just recklessly trying to push pace. And it's like, dude, I see what you're trying to do, but settle down. You are in we need to value every single possession mode, which is something that we have praised the Nuggets for doing so well over the years. Not in this game, not in this fourth quarter, not from Nikola Jokic. And those are the exact sort of plays that, again, are so pivotal to getting the Timberwolves jump started. And then also, there were several second chance opportunities that the Timberwolves got where Jokic was in position to make a rebound and it bounced off his hands, or Gobert got him out of the way and was able to secure it himself. Like, man, there were just so many moments you're looking at down the stretch where it's like, you need to make that shot. You need to protect the ball there. You need to finish that possession defensively. And the dude just didn't do it. And I mean, he's giving you sub 51% true shooting in this series.
He's
for the king of efficiency with 4 turnovers. He has had so many wasted offensive possessions.
He's 39% from the field and 19% from deep in this series, man. Like,
it's disgusting.
It's the worst basketball I've ever seen Jokic play on a stage like this. Like you said, sub 51% true shooting. The guy's averaging 4 turnovers a game. Jamal Murray is also at 37% from the field and 26% from deep. That's in the Jokic component is the biggest one. Like, okay, you tell me coming into this series, Jamal Murray gets swallowed up a little bit in some of these games by Jaden McDaniels on the perimeter. Okay, I can buy that. Jokic is shooting below 40% and below 20% from deep. No, I couldn't believe that. Like, Jokic's greatness has been so bankable and so consistent and so easy regardless of matchup. And Gobert is just owning him in this series, man. And you know, the middle part of this game, I thought in the third quarter, Jokic was getting the floater game going, and I thought he was going to finish strong, and then he just completely fell apart. Like, I don't know, man. I'm befuddled. This is the worst series I've ever seen from Jokic, and I think Rudy Gobert has been the best player in this series, start to finish, man, all things considered. I think he would be my series MVP at this point.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Jaden McDaniels has also been really good. Now, Ayo, these last 2 games has been unbelievable. Like, these are the guys who come to mind. You're talking about supporting pieces for the Timberwolves. And I mean, obviously, Gobert and McDaniels are 2 of their best players. I think Gobert is their second best player overall. But man, it has just been such a collective ass kicking from this team. And I come back to the athleticism, man, because when you watch Jamal Murray, it's like, yes, he's such a skilled shot maker, but he lacks high-end burst, and he's not great at playing through physicality. And so there are certain guards like an Anthony Edwards, right, who because he is always possessing these athletic, physical advantages, he's going to be able to get to his stuff in the playoffs. It's going to translate. Even like a Donovan Mitchell, right? Like, these players just have supreme athletic, physical advantages, and Jamal doesn't have that. And so Jaden McDaniels is as tough a draw as you can get, but there is a Jaden McDaniels out there, and there is an Oklahoma City team out there, and there is the Spurs point of attack defense. And I know the Nuggets played very well against the Spurs this year, but my point is, if you draw the Pistons in the finals, they've got dudes like that. Like, there are just special defenses running around that seem to have the number on these guys just broadly in terms of the matchup. And then I do look at Jokic, and again, I come back to athleticism and the speed of the attack at times. Like, we saw the Thunder able to so effectively double team and swarm him. And at times I think that's possible because Jokic, although he's a very quick decision maker, like, his offensive attacks out of the post take a bit of time to develop. And in that congested space, if you can send multiple bodies to him and you have a bunch of big, long dudes who are jumping up and putting arms in his face, like, that can cause some problems for him. The turnovers have been the most consistent issue we've seen with Jokic, the turnovers in the playoffs, and then the 3-point shot leaving him. And that's another thing where it's like, yeah, he's got great shooting touch, but that 3-point shot literally takes him a second to get off. And if he can't get it off, and now he goes into show and go mode and he tries to attack you off the bounce, I mean, with a little extra playoff physicality, you can get a hand check on him. Or if you're just a super athletic team defensively, or you have the rim protection that the Timberwolves do with Rudy Gobert, like, you're able to pose some problems for him. So I think we've talked about the Nuggets as this great, great offense, but again, for 3 straight years, it hasn't translated that way against great defenses. And I think everybody bears responsibility for that, but this is different from Jokic. I want to be clear. Like, in 2024, the Timberwolves took a chunk out of his efficiency. He still put up monster numbers and was still pretty efficient overall in that series. The Thunder last year gave him even a little bit more trouble. He still had some amazing offensive performances. He still put up massive box score numbers, right? Too many turnovers, struggled to shoot the 3. It wasn't up to his standard. The defense won the battle. This, I mean, is just a completely different sort of low, where in the biggest moments, he has been not nearly good enough. I mean, he has had 3 games that I would say are bad by Jokic standard, like bad. In last game, wasn't just bad by Jokic standard. It was a bad basketball game. Nikola Jokic was a negative player in game 3. He was a disaster on both ends of the floor. Like, that's just not the best player in the world, man. I'm sorry. He is not playing at that level in this series. I've been saying I think the burden is on him to go out there and show, hey, that's my title, because I think Shai has been so unbelievable end to end this year after already outplaying him in the playoffs last year. But Shai has leveled up this season. We've been saying for months, Shai is the best player in the world. And this is how Jokic is going to respond. Like, it's just not nearly good enough.
It's not. I mean, he's laying an egg, bro. This is the worst I've ever seen Jokic in the playoffs, and it's like, I don't know, man. I don't want to react to. I'm just trying to figure out what the right way to characterize this is. Is like, have I just had these like rose tinted goggles for Jokic? Is this a team build problem around Jokic? Like, were they a fluke champion? I don't know. These are the questions that are like running through my mind right now. Of like, I don't know, man. I've held Jokic in such high regard for such a long time now. Like, I do think he's one of the most talented offensive players to ever play the game. And I think despite his defensive shortcomings, he makes up for it in more, in tenfold but offensively. But I don't know. I'm just wondering, with just repeatedly the Nuggets hitting their head in this same way, like,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm wondering if we need to have a referendum, or if I need to change the way that I thought about that championship team, or how I think about Jokic.
I think the league has changed a lot since 2023, even genuinely. Like, there wasn't an OKC running around then. Minnesota hadn't ascended yet. I mean, they went through the version of the Minnesota team that existed that year, but they were due to level up in a number of ways. Like, the league changes so fast. It didn't even feel like we were really in like the weak link era yet at that point, right? Like, I don't think depth was quite as much at a premium. I don't think the best defenses had gotten to be as athletic and as bulletproof as they are today. And it does feel like the league in some ways has kind of passed the Nuggets by. And again, so much of this is matchups. The Timberwolves are a bad matchup for the Nuggets. The Timberwolves have always been a bad matchup for the Nuggets. They are big, they are physical, they are athletic. They do a lot of the things that pose issues to Denver as a team. All that being said, I picked Denver to win this series. And if you were going to tell me that Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo were going to go down, I mean, it should be a foregone conclusion that Denver wins that game. And yet, honestly, the dynamics of the game don't feel that different. The players on the floor are different, but the advantages are the same. You're still incapable of guarding the super athletic guard out of pick and roll. You're still at a deficit in transition. They still have more dudes who can put the ball on the floor and drive and abuse your lack of rim protection. They still are just as awesome defensively. Like, the Timberwolves are a machine as a team, and the Nuggets just don't feel like they're playing up to what their potential should be. And Aaron Gordon being hurt is a factor in that. And Peyton Watson not being available in this series is a factor in that. But it's like, does that really change the fundamental picture here? I don't think so. Christian Braun, they have to find a way to get off of. This was just rinse and repeat of him being such an unserious playoff offensive player. Again, the guard who can't knock down threes off the catch. So you have to put him in the dunker spot. He also can't make plays for others. And when he's in the dunker spot, I mean, against a super big athletic interior defense like Minnesota, like, he's not comfortable finishing in traffic. Bruce Brown too, they were running some of those inverted pick and rolls, and Jokic is getting it to the roller. But if the roller is Christian Braun or Bruce Brown, they can't finish against this defense. I thought it was really disappointing from Denver on a number of levels, but you can't say surprising at this point. You can't. Like, it is a trend that they get their asses handed to them by these super athletic, physical, defensive, deep teams. And that is the problem they are going to have to confront. And when you look at the picture of the Western Conference, already they were third in the hierarchy, in my opinion, like behind obviously OKC, but also San Antonio. And that picture's not getting any easier, man. Those teams are just getting better, and Minnesota's not going anywhere. And you got to figure this out somehow, because you keep running into the same problem.
It just feels like too much ground to make up. I don't know. With the teams that are dominating the league, it's like, this has been a years-long project for all of these teams, man. Detroit building up Duran, Cade, and drafting all of their depth. OKC, this has been a long thing coming. It's like, I thought the Nuggets crushed their offseason too. This is, I still think, the best team maybe that Jokic has ever had around him. Again, the injuries are important for context too, but even with that, you look at the state of the Denver roster in totality, and this is an old, unathletic roster. And it's like, I don't know how you magically just get all of these youthful athletes that are also skilled enough to complement and work around Jokic. It's because Jokic is as great of a player he is still a pretty unique team build and what you need to do specifically to put players around him, right? That's what makes this so interesting is like, as great as he is, they're very specific and I don't want to say rigid, but like very specific archetypes that you need to target to make up for some of his shortcomings. And it's just not as easy as some of these other guys that we're talking about.
No, it's not, dude. And this has been a huge part of my argument for Shai as the best player in the world. Like, when it comes to team build, the hyper efficient, crazy volume scoring guard who never turns the ball over, who has great positional size, who's a plus defender, is probably the easiest archetype ever to build a historically dominant team around. And I say archetype, I mean, there's two guys who really fit all of the bill there, and it's Michael Jordan and it's SGA. But it's not a coincidence. Those guys have fueled some of the most dominant statistical teams in NBA history. It's because you are building around a flawless player when the guy can carry your offense with hyper efficiency and massive volume, and he can also easily be a positive part of a great historic defense. Well, that's your incredibly high two-way ceiling right there. With a guy like Jokic, yes, he is one of the greatest offensive players to ever play the game, but he is limited athletically. And so you are working to compensate for that on the defensive end. And again, I don't know if Jokic is the best offensive player in the NBA right now. When it comes to playoff translatability, and I don't want to overreact to him going up against one of the greatest defenders ever and getting owned in that matchup, but look at how easy it is for Shai, and look at what defenses have to do to try to deal with the fact that Shai is one of the very greatest scorers to ever touch a basketball right now. Like, it is just not possible to deal with a level of on-ball score from the perimeter like that without having to slant your defense towards him in such crazy ways. And if you're blitzing, and if you're doubling, and if you're compromising your perimeter defense in all these ways, he's just going to pick you apart and find wide open teammates. Whereas it's a little bit easier to swarm and pack the paint with a big who is more methodical, operating out of the post and off the roll. If you can force him to play more of the pick and pop game, again, that can diminish his effectiveness. Like, we'll see how Jokic responds in the rest of this series, but this was supposed to be the Jokic response game. This was supposed to be the Denver response game. And again, injuries very unfortunately gave them an opportunity to actually take advantage and to actually respond and get back on even footing. And they just couldn't do it. They were in a good position pretty deep into this game, and then the wheels just totally fell off. So it's a great, great win for Minnesota. I think they are so well built as a modern basketball team. I need to stop doubting their ability to elevate in the playoffs at all, because they do these frustrating things in the regular season and they have their offensive inconsistencies. But man, a team that has 7 dudes like this, a team that has this sort of size and athleticism and physicality, that has Jaden McDaniels and not KD, that has guards like Dante and Ayo who are as versatile as they are, an offensive big as versatile as Naz Reid. It's just like, again, look at how many dudes you think can make plays for Minnesota, and then look at how many dudes you think can make plays. Naz Reid is substantially more of an offensive playmaker than Cam Johnson, who is the 4th best guy for the Nuggets. Naz Reid's coming off the bench. Ayo Dosunmu is like a legitimate offensive creator who's super versatile. You look at the guard depth for Denver, and it's like, Bruce Brown, I like the guy. I mean, he makes winning plays, but also he's a 6'4", like, wants to play like a forward who's like doing stuff off the roll, and he can't reliably knock down threes, and he's not really a ball handler for you. Like, he's this hodgepodge of interesting stuff. Tim Hardaway Jr., he's a really good 3-point shooter. You run him off the line, you get a good contest up, and it's just like he doesn't have much effectiveness beyond that whatsoever. And I think that's the biggest difference between these teams that I didn't give enough credit to coming into this series. But then the other thing is Jokic just not nearly carrying his weight, and I just didn't anticipate that. I mean, as much trouble as Minnesota has given him in the past, I could not have imagined, truly, I could not have visualized a world where it was this bad, where Gobert this convincingly owned him. Like, it's just a crazy thing to see. And somebody was asking last episode, like, do we revisit some of these all-time offensive conversations with Jokic? Yes. Yes. Like, we'll see how this series ends, and then maybe we can touch some of that stuff again. But how can you not? Because, yeah, what he did in 2023, I maintain, was the greatest offensive postseason in NBA history. I mean, 30, 13, and 10 on 65% true shooting. And he went through some of the best defensive players on the planet. Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo, struggled most against Gobert and the Wolves, but still had a really good series against them. But again, the league has changed since then, and defenses are built differently. And Jokic hasn't been able to maintain the same level of success in the postseason. And if you compare it to what LeBron is doing in 2016 through 2018 in the playoffs, I mean, Jordan is the greatest offensive player ever. I had him number one when we did that conversation, but it's just a different level of like complete imperviousness to defense of just, I'm going to deliver that all-time impact and you can't do anything about it. I thought Jokic was on that level, and it just doesn't feel like that. It just doesn't feel that way right now.
Where are you at with this series?
I mean, I don't know. If Ant can't play again, then Denver could still win. But Denver also could lose next game. I think if Ant doesn't play next game, Denver wins that one, because the problem is, again, we talk about Minnesota's top 7 being so good. Now, if you're down 2 of those guys, I mean, you do have to reach further into the bench. And I didn't love Mike Conley having to play 21 minutes, although he did make some plays in this game. And even he can get to wide open looks. He has 2 things in his bag. He's had 2 things in his bag for like 3 years. It's a floater and an open 3. And he got to both of those shots in this game because Denver wasn't active enough defensively. Jokic is sitting in that deep drop. But I think at some point, I mean, Minnesota doesn't have enough bodies and they don't have enough consistent high-level offensive creation. I'm saying that. I don't know if I really even believe it if Minnesota is going to win on the offensive glass, if they're going to win in transition, and if they're going to continue to defend like this, and if they're going to continue to just outshoot Denver from 3. I think Denver is going to start to shoot better from 3, but it has to happen now, man. Like, they got to snap into it. Aaron Gordon needs to find the shot. Spencer Jones, Tim Hardaway Jr., even Jamal, Jokic, certainly, like, all of these guys need to shoot better. So I think the most likely outcome is that Minnesota wins, honestly, even if Ant doesn't play. I think they would get 1 of 3. That's the world that leaves the door open, though. And it's like, you never want to overreact to one game when these two teams face off, because I always think back to 2024, and it was the craziest seesaw back and forth series that I've ever seen. This isn't one game, though. This is pretty much the story of game 2, and then absolutely the story of game 3, and then the story of game 4. And that just feels like a pretty consistent trend here of Minnesota having the most meaningful advantages in this series.
Yeah, I agree. I'm at Wolves in 6. I do think the Nuggets get this next game. I think that I just can't imagine Jokic going out this sad. I mean, at this point, like, how bad he's been in this series, I guess I could see it, but
yeah,
I have too much built-in ingrained respect for the guy, and I still think that he has got a chip on his shoulder for a game like this, where it's a one game, like, back against the wall. Like, I do think the Nuggets get this next one, but I think the Wolves probably get this thing done on their home court.
It's just been so disappointing to see him at times lose the composure, being sped up offensively, taking bad shots. Like, we think of the Nuggets as having this amazing clutch offensive process of, oh, if they go to the Murray Jokic 2-man game, they're going to get a good shot out of it in one way or another. Just hasn't been the case. Oh, a Jokic post up, that's one of the greatest offensive actions in NBA history. Just hasn't been the case. And he was better defensively in this game, but he still has his same limitations. Like, he was more active, but again, like, this team doesn't have a perimeter defender they can put on Ayo who can make him uncomfortable. And Jokic as a pick and roll defender, I mean, they're mostly having him play in the deep drop, which means you're going to concede pull-up threes and you're going to concede floaters. And I would like to see them bring Jokic up to the level and have him pressure the ball a little bit more and try to make Gobert be more of a decision maker and playmaker off the roll. But Denver hasn't really been doing that. I would like to see them turn to the zone a bit more that we saw have some success in game 3. Denver didn't really do that in this game. So they should get the next one on their home court, especially if Anthony Edwards doesn't play. And even if Ant does play, I don't think he's going to look very good. Now he's going to be playing on 2 bad knees when he's already been struggling this whole series and already been settling. So it's a really tough injury situation for Minnesota. And I still think they're probably going to win this series, especially because we're not going to get the version of Aaron Gordon that is the best version of him. Like, clearly he's affected by the hammy. You saw it with him not going up and finishing that lob that Jokic saw. You saw it with a little bit of a lack of lift on the jumpers. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But at this point, it would feel almost miraculous if Denver could come back. I do think they will get a win on their home floor, but after that, we'll see. They're just really, really fighting an uphill battle athletically. We're going to take a quick break, and then we got 3 more games to talk about after some quick words from Based Body Works.
Most people have no idea that the shampoo and body wash they've been using for years can contain ingredients that disrupt hormones. I didn't either until I found Based Body Works.
I switched to Base Shower Duo a few months ago, and the results were immediate. The shampoo has peppermint and argan oil, so your scalp actually feels clean, not stripped. Your hair feels thicker and healthier, and there's no sulfates, no hormone-disrupting chemicals, ingredients I was putting on my silly, dumb little head every single day without thinking twice. It's the easiest upgrade I've made to my routine.
Base Body Works uses plant-based ingredients with a function, formulated for men who care about what goes on their body, not just in it.
If you've been using the same products forever without thinking twice about what's in them, it's worth a look. Based Body Works is clean, plant-based men's grooming that actually performs. Use code NerdSesh for 20% off at basebodyworks.com and get a free toiletry bag when you buy a set, because confidence shouldn't come at the cost of your health. Logan, there was another big game that we saw, another upset in the morning. The Orlando Magic take a 2-1 series lead over the Detroit Pistons. What did you take away from Orlando getting this one done?
I mean, when Orlando can get contributions throughout their roster, we had this big, long debate. We went on Player's Choice the other day. Love going on their show. Shout out. And we had this big, long debate about if Orlando had more creators than Detroit. And, I do think there's some validity to that point when all these guys can get it going, especially as jump shooters. I mean, shout out Big Ox, man. He just kept talking about Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane came through and delivered. Finally had a big-time game. 7 3-pointers made. That's where most of his offense came from. He made 9 field goals. Gives you 25 and 7. And you just think about the trouble that both of these teams have taking the lid off of the basket sometimes. And I really think that a lot of these games, as similar as these two teams are, can really come down to 3 factors, really. 3-point shooting, which the Magic won tonight. Jump shooting in general. These are not great jump shooting teams who can hit more pull-ups and mid-ranges. And then turnovers. I thought the Magic won all those categories tonight. And again, in a bogged down, mud fight, nasty kind of series like we're getting here between Detroit and Orlando, it can really be as simple as that. I just thought that Detroit didn't get enough going to create separation in the middle of this game. And then they got close at the end. Cade made some plays, but Cade also had some bad turnovers. He ends up with 9 in this game. And the other big thing for Detroit, outside of the factors that I mentioned that I think are going to be very important for every other game in this series, I don't know what the hell they can do to get Jalen Duren going, man. Like, it is really problematic for me at this point in the series where this is game 3, man. You're down 2-1, and Duren has been just a non-factor. Like, he's not dominating on the boards. I thought he kind of got bitched by Wendell Carter today, man.
Yeah.
Wendell Carter ended up grabbing 17 boards, 8 of them offensive. Like,
he's like that.
He is. And, it's personal between those two. We talked about it a little bit on the
Angel Reese Bowl.
One of our previous shows, the Angel Reese battle. But that's a real problem for Detroit, man. They got to figure out how to get him going offensively in any kind of way, and for him to just be a weapon physically. He has been a non-factor in these playoffs. Man, this is a guy I had on my All-NBA team, my All-Star team, and he is certainly not delivering on his regular season results. But yeah,
No.
I thought Orlando did a good job of turning them over, and they were the better jump shooting team in today's game. And their offensive players were just a little bit better, man. And they got kind of a little bit of contributions from a lot of different guys. But I think I'm at 7 with this series, man. I've gone back and forth. Pistons are going to get it done. I just think this is going to be classic grimy rock fight down to the wire. Game 7, winner take all.
Who are you taking in 7?
I'm still going with Detroit just because of my faith in Cade Cunningham. And I think that his offensive process is going to prevail. And I think the Detroit defense is going to have some more of those really hyper disruptive quarters. I think Orlando cools down as a jump shooting team a little bit. But again, it's so close between both of these teams. Like, I really think we're in for a series that's going to go the distance.
It does feel that way right now. I still think Detroit is going to pull through, but I've had my concerns about them all year, and I never had them higher than 7th in our contender rankings and my contender ranks because of those concerns.
I had them behind the Heat one time.
Well, that was insane. Well, that was a terrible take.
And I had Larry Bird in my 10 spot.
You did also have Larry Bird in your 10 spot. I've had these pretty big concerns about Detroit all year and their half-court offense, and concerns about the spacing and shooting and creation around Cade, and even Cade's own offensive consistency. All this stuff that has made me think this team can't win the title. And also coming into this series, I thought Orlando matched up well with them physically. All of that being said, I picked Detroit to win this series in a sweep. And the reason for that is, with the concerns that I had about Detroit being very real, I just didn't trust this Orlando team. I really didn't trust their offense, and their defense hadn't played up to their potential this season. I just didn't think Orlando was the team that was going to really be good enough to exploit the flaws that Detroit has to the point where they could really put a scare into them. I was expecting rock fights, grimy, defensive, low-scoring, physical games, and I just thought Detroit was going to have the advantage across those games and they would take care of business. But the Magic are really exposing all the problems this Detroit team has, and they are really putting pressure on them with some elite defense. They are totally matching them physically, taking away a lot of the margin that Detroit usually creates on the glass in the turnover battle, and they're doing just enough on offense to have a 2-1 lead at this point. The Orlando offense has still been far from pretty, but they are much closer to the version of this team we envisioned coming into the year right now than they were throughout this entire season. And so much of that just comes down to what they're doing defensively. Like, the hope with Orlando is, okay, you bring in Desmond Bane and you're going to go from a bad offense to a solid offense, and you're going to maintain being an awesome defense. In this regular season, they were a below average offense still, and they were just like a slightly above average defense. Now they've locked back into like that top 5 defense level that defined Orlando over the last couple years. And so they're making it a real mud fight because of that. I want to give them props. It's a good win. It's also a tough loss for Detroit. I thought they played a very sloppy, undisciplined game going into the fourth quarter. They already had 15 turnovers, and they had put Orlando on the line for 28 free throw attempts. Like, you're just not going to win a lot of games when you're giving up that many possessions with turnovers offensively. Most of that was on Cade, who had a number of awful giveaways in this game. And then just a general lack of defensive discipline, but multiple flagrant fouls, and the dumb Isaiah Stewart foul at the end of the half when you commit a foul jostling for position on a rebound that doesn't exist. There is no rebound. It's an illusion. Time is expiring before anybody is going to grab that basketball, and you foul Wendell Carter Jr. just because you're frustrated and you let your emotions get the best of you. I thought it was the wrong side of the Pistons' nastiness, and there was a bit of immaturity from them across the board in this game. And with their half-court offense being as limited as it is and facing a strong Orlando defense, you just can't afford that many self-inflicted wounds. And that's why they were down 15 early in the fourth. And then remarkably, they climbed back because the defense did really lock in. Cade and Tobias Harris were awesome for most of that fourth quarter, and they actually take a 1-point lead. And then Orlando beats you in the tough shot-making game. That's a tough way to go down. Franz hits 2 contested jumpers. Paolo hits 2 contested jumpers, which is a really brutal way to lose because I thought Detroit was forcing the exact sort of shots that they wanted. I mean, those guys taking heavily contested jumpers at the end of the shot clock. I mean, they were defending on a string. They were rotating like that, and it just ended up being like these guys had to put up these shots, and they made all of them. Like, I honestly couldn't believe my eyes, especially the last one from Paolo that went off the heel, went 27 feet up in the air, and then bounced in. It was like just that kind of night for Orlando and not at all a good night for Detroit. That's tough. It's tough. It's not something that I would expect to happen again in terms of that late game, difficult shot making from Orlando. I think it's very much an outlier, but that's why you don't put yourself in that spot with all the mistakes that Detroit made earlier in this game. So Orlando won this game because of that down the stretch, the shot making, and also what you laid out. I mean, they shot better from 3 and they got more possessions. It's really that simple. They were under 38% on 2-pointers. I thought Detroit's rim protection in this game was outstanding. Duran has 5 blocks. Asar has 5 blocks. I mean, they were making some unbelievable plays around the rim. In the 2020s before this game, teams were 3-22 in the postseason when shooting under 38% on 2-pointers, but Orlando goes 15 of 33 from deep, which is like shooting 60% from 3 and making 20 of them in this series where the shooting is pretty brutal. They were +4 on the offensive glass, which is crazy to do against Detroit, this elite offensive rebounding team, but Orlando's consistently contended really well in that category. They forced 2 more turnovers. They got 4 more shot attempts, 9 more free throw attempts. Like, in a rock fight, if you get more shots up and you can actually make your threes when the other team can't, like, you're going to win the basketball game if you can execute that formula. Orlando got it done. Desmond Bane going 7 of 9 from 3 is absurd. Like, that is just an ability he has that nobody else in this series has come close to doing anything like that. Maybe Duncan Robinson can have a game like that down the line for Detroit, but he hasn't done that yet. So that was huge, especially in the first half. Suggs continues to hit some big shots for them. And it was another really good team win where, like, they're just getting good contributions from Wendell Carter Jr., who was unreal on the glass and was efficient and continues to defend Duran well. Anthony Black had 6 stocks, blocked a couple jump shots. He was just all over the place defensively. Kane hit a couple big shots. So I really thought Orlando did everything they needed to do to win this basketball game. And I thought Detroit played well below their standard. And I do put a lot of it on Cade. Like, Cade just can't go 8 of 23 with 9 turnovers. You can't afford that. He can have an off shooting night. I want to be clear about that because that's going to happen. This is a tough matchup. A lot of what he's having to live off of are these intermediate shots that can't always fall. And Detroit showed an ability to win on off Cade shooting nights this year. In fact, some of his worst shooting nights of the season, they actually won the basketball game because their defense is that amazing. Their offensive rebounding is that good. Like, they can live with that as long as he's getting a shot up on the rim that gives them a chance at an offensive rebound, and he's not giving the ball away to the opponent in a way that allows them to get right out in transition and turn that defense into offense. And again, as long as he's not just wasting possessions, and that's what he was doing in this game. He got better with the turnovers this year. I mean, historically, this was a big criticism of Cade, that he was a turnover machine. Some of these, though, are just like turnovers you can't have in the playoffs. And that shit has been infuriating to me, like across several series. When you're careless with the basketball, if Jalen Suggs is on the floor, or on the other end, if Asar Thompson is on the floor, like, you can't get away with that lazy regular season la-di-da stuff against these teams in the playoffs. And I thought that was really disappointing from Cade. And also the pull-up shooting, I do think has to be better because some of these screens, Orlando's going under just to make sure they can pack the paint, they can take away Duran off the roll, and Cade couldn't make them pay for doing that at all in this game. So we know how much they rely on him. He had his run in the fourth that was really cool, but it was a really bad Cade day overall. I mean, even in the final minute of this game. He has a bad turnover that like effectively ends this game, and you just can't do that. Possessions matter too much. When points come hard, you need to give yourself as many chances to score as you possibly can. Orlando did that in this game. Detroit did not, and I put that mostly at the feet of Cade. 9 turnovers, a game after he had 7 turnovers, by the way. That is completely unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, Cade has a lot of responsibility on his plate, but I do agree he's got to be better. The other guy I want to give credit to, a ton of credit to Desmond Bane. Big shout out to Paolo Banchero, man. I mean, if I'm going to be critical of Paolo early in a series, I thought he was a little bit more methodical in this game in a way that I liked. He was a little bit more controlled. He didn't have his most efficient day from the field, but I thought his playmaking was pretty impressive. I liked his decision making. Guys were making shots too. I mean, that's just a fundamental difference of Orlando too, him getting 9 assists. Like, guys were actually making open looks too, but he draws 14 fouls in this game too, gets to the line a bunch. Even if Paolo is taking jump shots and if the defense is, making him take those looks, I still like it when he's at least aggressive in getting to the line. And
yeah,
I don't know. I'm just saying, if we're going to be critical of Paolo early in the series, if I'm going to talk about when he's playing really bad, I do want to give him credit. Even if it wasn't a perfect Paolo game, I thought he played really well in this one.
I don't agree with that, but I don't think that Paolo has been really bad in any game this series. I don't think he was very good last game. He made 2 big shots in this game. It was a really rough showing from the field. What he has done well, though, is create for others. He's done a good job of getting paint touches and then making kick out passes. I give him props for that. I think the scoring from the field was really rough in this one, though, and there were a lot of forced drives into packed paints where Detroit did a phenomenal job of helping on his drives and taking away the rim. So the guy did shoot 6 of 17 from the field. He is shooting 42% from the field in this series, but he's been fine. I mean, I wouldn't be critical of Paolo in this game. I just didn't think that he was like very good. I thought Bane was massive for them. And then Franz and Paolo made a couple of very big shots, but overall, I didn't think either one played that good of a game. I think the superhero has been Orlando's defense and honestly, Orlando's rebounding. And like, if I'm giving X factors of the series, it's probably going to Wendell Carter Jr. and Suggs for being as good as they have been in Orlando's 2 wins and really making a pronounced impact on both sides of the ball. I do think you mentioned Jalen Duren. He's been the disappointment of this series. And we see just time and again how important matchups are in these playoffs. We talk about it with Denver and Minnesota. It's such a big factor in this series. Like, Detroit was the much better basketball team than Orlando this year, right? Just flat out. This matchup is really problematic, though, because all of their big size, physicality, athleticism advantages, like, they've largely been negated in this series. And now they got to pull through in a rock fight where these teams are pretty much standing on even footing of, your defense is great. You're super physical, athletic. You guard us really well. Our offense is a struggle. It's like, all right, who's going to be able to do enough in some of these key categories? And Detroit didn't do enough. And part of that is Duren just not really making an offensive impact at all. I mean, his rim protection was fantastic tonight, but Orlando is just doing the same stuff they've been doing since game 1. They're packing the paint. They're taking him away off the roll. And when he tries to score one-on-one against Wendell Carter Jr., just can't do it. He can't physically impose himself enough, and he's not skilled enough against the guy who can wall him up and hold his own physically. So Orlando is doing so much stuff to put more pressure on Detroit to make jump shots, and Detroit is just not a good jump shooting team, and they are not a skilled perimeter team offensively. And the spacing has been rough with Asar and Duren on the floor together. Orlando is exploiting that. Like, Detroit is going to need somebody, maybe multiple guys, to step up and just start playing better offensively in this series. Dennis Jenkins only plays 7 minutes tonight. Like, I think they need more out of him. I get that games 1 and 2 were rough, and so they didn't want to go to him much, especially because he can be attacked defensively, but you need somebody who's got some juice, who can do something as a playmaker with the ball in their hands, as a pull-up shooter. Overall, Detroit's making 9 3-pointers per game at a 30% clip.
They have an offensive rating of 102.9 in this series.
Like, it's not that much better than what the Houston Rockets are doing offensively in these playoffs right now. So you can lose to anybody when you play like that offensively, especially if you're not creating the usual transition, turnover, rebounding margin that you do, which they haven't been doing in this series. So I still think Detroit is going to get this done. I do want to give props to Tobias Harris and Asar because I thought they both played so well. I mean, Harris, some big time shot making in the fourth, and he's also been good defensively. He's defended Paolo well. He's been very active with his hands. Asar was unbelievable in this game. The last 24 hours have been like a Thompson twin party of just showing off that they're the best athletes in the NBA. And Asar, I mean, 7 stocks in this game, like back-to-back defensive master classes. He just steals a couple inbounds and makes some ridiculous plays around the rim. But then offensively, he was so good too, just killing it on the offensive glass and good as a cutter. So he even made a couple jump shots. Like Asar was phenomenal in this game. I don't know that you can count on that to be replicated. I do think Tobias Harris has played pretty well, but I mean, they got to get one of these 3 dudes really going. Duncan Robinson, Jalen Duren, or Dennis Jenkins. Those are the 3 guys who I look at and I'm like, they could make the most pronounced offensive impact that they just haven't made up to this point in the series.
I agree. They got to get something else, man. I mean, these guys were rock solid during the regular season, too. Dennis Jenkins, when Cade Cunningham was injured with a collapsed lung down the stretch of the season, was awesome. Jalen Duren, I don't get it, Carson. And it's like his touch has disappeared. I saw this guy during the regular season make a real leap, man. He doesn't look comfortable going up with a layup in this series.
Yeah, but it's also tough because so much of his offense is dependent on Cade interior passing. And when you're going up against a team that has really good interior size and is committed to taking away those passes as much as possible, that's going to limit his effectiveness. And then you've got a center who's keeping him off the offensive glass and who's holding his own on these post-ups and drives. Like, my thinking after game 1 was, Duren will get into this series. He'll work his way into this series. He's so athletic. He's so physical. Like, even if the one-on-one offense isn't working, he's going to make an impact in one way or another offensively. And he hasn't. And now we're 3 games deep, and I don't really see reason to expect that to change that much. I still think he can be better. I don't think you're getting regular season Duren production. And Jenkins, again, it's like his minutes are going down. His minutes are going the wrong way in this series. And it's tough when you're the small, slight guard in the fucking most physical playoff series known to man, right? And when you have this team that is like so rock solid defensively, and then you're the one dude who they look at and they're like, perfect, Franz, look for that switch. Paolo, look for that switch. But I think like Detroit might have to compromise the defense just a tad to get more offense on the court, because it does feel like, although Cade is absolutely the best player in this series, Orlando does have more sources of offense right now. I mean, they have more creators, but they also have more dudes who I believe will make jump shots. Like Suggs, he's hot and cold as a jump shooter. He's been mostly hot in this series, especially by the standards of jump shooting going on. Desmond Bane is an actual weapon. And Detroit just has very few guys like that. Even Tobias Harris, who I like from the mid-range, doesn't shoot a lot of threes. Javonte Green comes in and puts up 6 threes, and I'm sure that was a directive from JB of being like, hey, if you've got a good look, put it up, because he's one of the better three-point shooters on this team. He's not that good a three-point shooter. Like, I mean, if you're asking me what are the 2 things that have stood out most in terms of just their importance in these playoffs, pretty much athleticism and shooting. I mean, athleticism and defense intertwined, but those are the things that have swung games. And if you're badly lacking one, you're really going to feel it, as amazing defensively and athletically as Detroit is. But the good news is the team that they're going up against also is one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the NBA. And if that battle goes a bit more evenly for Detroit going forward, then you reduce the margin, because that really was such a big swing factor in this game. And if they can get back to dominating, truly dominating defensively, like closer to what they did in game 2, which I do think is replicable because their defense is that amazing, and they do get out and get more of a transition advantage, like all those things they do have lowered the burden on their half-court offense all year, and I think can do that in this series. And then again, it does matter to me that even with his flaws, I trust Cade substantially more in this series than any other basketball player. He's got to clean it up. The turnovers have to stop, but I am just so much more comfortable with the offense that he is getting to than I am anyone with Orlando, because Bane really got it going tonight, but he was very quiet in games 1 and 2, and he got it going overwhelmingly with 3-point shooting off the catch, right? He wasn't creating offense. Paolo, Franz, I think both can be induced into pretty inefficient nights offensively, and both have been inefficient overall in this series. There is so much on Cade's plate, but I think Detroit is ultimately going to get it done because of the defense being so special and Cade being the best guy on the floor and the transition stuff that I'm talking about. But I'll tell you what, this has not felt like a 1 versus 8 seed whatsoever. You mentioned us going on player's choice. Damian was like, it feels much more like a 4 versus 5. I completely agree with that. Like, this feels like two pretty young, very shaky offensive teams who are just rolling around in the mud, fucking each other up. Like, Detroit's only looked a level above Orlando for one quarter in this entire series. Other than that, they've been on the same footing, or Orlando has been slightly better. And that is concerning because it's been 3 games. So I was super wrong about this one. I thought Detroit was going to take care of business. I think that they are in a dangerous spot, but I do still believe they're going to win because I still don't trust the Magic enough. That's really what it comes down to. I think Detroit's offense can be bad, can continue to be bad, and they can still win this series because I think they can make Orlando's offense worse and they can create more margin in these other areas.
I'm just at 7 games. I'm going to take the Pistons, but I just think this goes the distance. I don't know, man. I could see Orlando coming away with this. Duren is the big problem. What's Duren, and then it's the fact that I wasn't expecting this level from Orlando's defense. And like I mentioned at the top, again, I really think the 3 factors could just determine all of this. 3-point shooting, turnovers, jump shooting. Like every individual game could just come down to those factors in a game with these 2 teams. But I didn't account for Orlando's defense being able to ratchet up and disrupt Detroit like this. Awesome. And I just overlooked it. So I just think this goes the distance. I'm going to lean on Detroit, but I could certainly see Orlando winning this series, man. I underestimated them, certainly, coming into this matchup. I think other matchups would have been more problematic for Orlando, but this one, I think they can hang.
Physical teams, farewell in the playoffs. Bad offenses, struggle in the playoffs. How do you reconcile those 2 things? Well, I don't know. Both these teams are super physical. Both these teams are bad offenses. Maybe when we see them, either one of them face a good offense, it's not as physical and athletic as we'll see next series. We'll see what wins out in that battle. But definitely they have been pretty much on the same plane throughout. But I do believe in Detroit more for all the reasons I've said. I don't know. It's really hard for me to buy into this Orlando team because I did think like they had almost lost this game. And then, I mean, it was just some crazy outlier shot making down the stretch. Like, I don't believe anybody is going to shoot the 3 well in this series, but Detroit does have to shoot it a little better. And they don't really have the shooters on this team. And I don't think they need that much 3-point shooting because it's not something they rely on, but I think they need a little bit more than what they've gotten up to this point. All right. A couple more convincing outcomes were the other 2 games of the day, Logan. Let's start with the Knicks getting a big bounce back win over the Hawks. They were down 2-1, had to even this thing up as the higher seed. What did you take away from them getting the win tonight?
Yeah, this was a back against the wall kind of situation. They needed to regain home court advantage the rest of this series against the low seed, and that they did. Honestly, you can point at a couple of guys offensively for the Knicks, and I want to shout them out. I thought OG has been awesome in this series throughout, defensively and what he brought defensively, I almost just take for granted because it's like I know what OG is bringing me on that, and what he's been doing offensively has been absolutely outstanding. And that guy, I'm just at a point with OG where like I hate doing this kind of cliche moniker to guys. He's a playoff gamer, man. I just trust him to rise to the occasion.
Championship player
in big spots. So shout out OG. Cat had one of the worst 3-minute stretches I've ever seen in a game in the second quarter where my dad and I were cussing him out on the TV, and then bam, like in the blink of an eye, Cat just locked in and started making good shit happen. And that's what's so frustrating about him. I was talking about this with him earlier. Cat is so talented. It's just frustrating how inconsistent he is, man. Like, Cat's skill set is one of a guy who is like the best player in the league, and yet
settle down.
Dude, he's fucking huge. He's got elite shooting touch. Like, he's just so skilled, man. He's such a frustrating guy when you watch his big ass just barrel into some dude with a telegraphed Euro step. Like, Cat's incredibly frustrating, but he is super talented. And I thought Playmaking was really talented in this game, and actually outside of that second quarter got it going. And Brunson did enough, but outside of the offense for New York, the most impressive thing to me was just how they limited the Atlanta offense more than anything else, and specifically what they did against CJ McCollum. I thought the different coverages that they threw at McCollum, like you can look at the box score, and McCollum was over 50% from the field, but they held him scoreless from deep, and I just thought they did a much better job of, one, doing the best they could to avoid the Brunson matchup defensively and trying to put other guys on him, but also, and I thought this was genius on Mike Brown's part, and he should have done this earlier in the series, selectively throwing double teams and just switching up coverages on McCollum to just get the ball out of his hands and to force other guys to kill them. Like,
Totally.
Jalen Johnson just does not scare me in the half court. He has been down in this series. He had one good game, really, right? 14 points in this one on 4 of 12 shooting. Nikhil makes 5 threes, but that's about it. And that's kind of been his only strength in this series. He has not been super effective in the intermediate range and out of the pick and roll, actually creating for himself outside of just shooting. And then you had Kuminga come back down to earth. So the overarching point that came through in this game, like the Knicks just are more talented and delivered, but the little schematic strings that they pulled, like I said, specifically selling out on McCollum defensively, I thought was the
I don't want to give them too much credit for that, though, because it's like, why weren't you doing that earlier?
Right, yeah.
Game 2, I was saying you need to be blitzing this. You need to be not conceding the Brunson switch to CJ whenever he wants it and forcing him to beat you as a decision maker and playmaker and forcing other guys to beat you. And they didn't do it for a little bit too long. I agree. It's good that they're doing it now, but maybe they could have kept CJ from just frying whatever matchup he wanted one-on-one a little bit sooner.
Yeah. Better late than never.
Anyway, for sure.
Brunson, I also thought, did a much better job of actually them attacking McCollum defensively in this game, too. Just little adjustments. I think the Knicks are the more talented team. I trust their offense to deliver more consistently, and I thought that rang true in this game. And if they keep pushing these buttons, I think the Knicks, I would take them in 6, but the Knicks are a fraudulent, fake-ass, weak-ass, sorry team, so this will probably go 7 and be tight.
Whoa!
Don't act
on the
like
day of their big win? You know how I feel about the Knicks. I don't really know. Fraudulent? Are they even defrauding us? I mean, don't they just show us who they are? Like, I don't know. They're not that good, but they're good enough to win this series. I picked them in 7. I think that's probably still how they get it done. That's what I was still saying after they went down 2-1. They were the substantially better team today. And I do think what you see, and this has been the case throughout this series, is the checklist of things that have to go right for the Hawks to win a game is just longer. And specifically up to this point, for them to win 2 games by 1 point each. Like, yes, we're on even ground here. It's at 2 games apiece, but like the Knicks are plus 25 in terms of the point differential overall in this series. Like when they've won, it's been relatively comfortable. When the Hawks have won, it's been off of game winners. And there is just more margin for the Knicks. I think their offense is certainly more consistent. They are a more talented team. And Cat and OG were really good in this game. I know you mentioned the Cat stretch. I mean, it was crazy when he missed the wide open layup and then the bunny on the same possession. But overall in this series, he's been really good. He's been checking all the boxes. He's been solid defensively. He's been good as a driver. He's been good as a shooter. He was really good as a passer in this game. And then OG Anunoby has been arguably the best Knick in this series. It's either him or Cat. Brunson is like a distant third because Brunson still was not good today. And I think that's something the Hawks can take away from this game and say, okay, we still did a good job on Brunson, but OG giving you 21 points and 9 boards on 70% true shooting with like absolutely ridiculous defense. Sometimes I think, is he just the Knicks' best player? I mean, like if I was starting a team from scratch, he's definitely the player.
Even at the price tag. I agree.
And he does cost a lot of money. He's an expensive player, but it's just so easy to see him contributing to championships. And then you look at Cat and Brunson and you're like, very good, very talented, also very flawed to the point where it's like, are they going to be the building block of a great team? I don't buy it. OG, he's not a building block. He's not the building block, but he's one of the best players on an awesome basketball team. It's very easy to see that. And just consistently awesome in the playoffs. They also shot it really well from deep as a team. They were due for one of those games after an off shooting night, a couple off shooting nights. They got great minutes off the bench. One of the things that had unexpectedly gone in Atlanta's favor was Kuminga being so good off the bench, and New York not quite getting that level of contribution from their depth. But I mean, several guys gave them good bench minutes in this one. So shout out to them for that. And it was a real struggle for Atlanta's offense, which I think is always the looming concern with the Hawks, that they can just sort of break down offensively in the half court. Lots of turnover issues. Like you said, I mean, the Knicks forcing it out of CJ's hands forced him into some turnovers. Really bad shooting, which is a concern that looms with this Hawks team, especially when the guys who are taking and missing threes are the exact players who the Knicks want taking and missing threes, like Jalen Johnson getting dared to shoot and going 1 of 5 from deep. Jonathan Kuminga, this was the worst version of him. And again, I mean, I got to give the guy props because he was so good in games 2 and 3 and he swung those games. But one of my concerns for Atlanta was with how reliant they have been on him as not just the sixth guy, but the guy they closed with. Is he going to keep up that level? And the answer was no. I mean, just taking insane shots, just jacking up threes. And it's like, dude, that is not what you are in the basketball game to do. And playing out of control when he did try to get downhill. I mean, he lost the handle on a couple occasions. So that was problematic. Jalen Johnson having his offensive struggles in the half court, not being able to make them pay for daring him to shoot. That's not good. And also, I mean, they lost the transition battle. You can't do that. You have to win that if you're Atlanta. They were minus 10 in the points off turnover battle. That was a huge category that they won in game 3. All around, just a really bad Atlanta game. All the key boxes did not go their way, and that's why this game really wasn't very competitive. So ultimately, I do think what you get out of New York is just more reliable. I think it matters that they have more real high-end offensive players. And I do think Atlanta's offense is prone to some breakdowns, but I don't want to overreact to this one game because I still think, I mean, this series is very competitive for a reason. And I think the good news for the Hawks is on two fronts. They are still guarding Brunson really well. They have the right personnel and they have the right approach, and they forced him into 6 turnovers this game, and they are continuing to make it really hard for him to score with any sort of efficiency. That's good. They have to continue to do that to win these games, and they've done it in 3 straight games and really the entire series outside of the first quarter of game 1. And then on the other side, like, CJ is still making shots at a high level, and he still looks comfortable in a lot of different matchups. Again, New York was able to limit his scoring volume a bit and get the ball out of his hands, but when he did have opportunities to attack one-on-one, he was still frying, dude. So that was maybe the biggest thing in games 2 and 3. CJ outplayed Brunson. They attacked Brunson defensively very effectively. They made him work really hard offensively, and I think they have still shown an ability to do that. They just have to win some of the key battles on the margins that they lost tonight.
Yeah, I think Atlanta has some buttons they can press though, man. Like leaving Josh Hart alone, trying to get him to punish them. Like I would
Oh my.
do not like that.
Hello.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh, I just wasn't sure what you meant by that, but yeah, he's been
anytime
shooting poorly from 3.
and that's I should have said that. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime he's on,
say, see if they can get him to punish them. Why would they want him to punish them if you're talking about basketball?
yeah.
If you're talking about something else, okay. Now I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So I would leave him alone on an island. I would see if Josh Hart, if I'd leave him open so I can slant my defense to some of these other guys like Cat, Brunson, Gamble. See if you can get some of those transition opportunities because, like you're saying, I do think that that's a. I think that that's a big component for Atlanta winning this series, that speed battle and them forcing turnovers and getting out on the break. I don't think the series is done, though. I like the Knicks, and talent-wise, like I said, if I was just basing it on that, I would take them in 6, but I think there's something about the Knicks that makes me think that they're going to let go of the rope one of these games, and it's going to go 7.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, again, Atlanta has had to win both of the games that they have won in the clutch, very down to the wire. But I think they do have advantages in this series, as we have seen. It's tough for them to win, though, when the difference in terms of bench contributions is this substantial. When Deuce gives you good minutes, and Mitch gives you good minutes and dominates the offensive glass, and Jordan Clarkson gives you good minutes, and Jose Alvarado comes in, and he's wreaking havoc, and he gives you 3 steals and a couple threes in his limited minutes. And then, I mean, the best player off the Hawks bench today was Gabe Vincent. And that is just a group that really does not have much talent. And Dyson remains a major problem offensively, who the Knicks are just completely ignoring and daring him to make any sort of play, and he's been incapable of doing it. And there is a big load on CJ's plate. So, yeah, I think, again, it's just easier to see the path. A big load on his plate, Logan. That's an expression that's used frequently in the English language. I don't often say, oh, I hope that guy punishes me, unless I freaking mean it, which you didn't. You went halfway in, you dipped your toes in, and then you backed out.
I have a question about Cat.
Okay.
Do you think he's the most animated player either in the NBA today or in NBA history? Like, I was thinking about this watching him today. I think if you took a freeze frame of any Cat bucket, it would probably look like the most difficult shot that's ever been attempted in NBA history. Yeah. Like, he's always it's always like cinematic and slow-mo and ooh, like I just think his facial expression.
And he makes crazy faces when there's a call that he doesn't like. He goes, like he's in the cartoonish faces out there for sure. You know who else kind of makes some silly faces sometimes? Shai. Shai's eyes will get really wide. Like, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's actually pretty funny anytime you see an NBA player react to a call they don't like. They will make a pretty silly face. But you know what else Shai does out there, Logan Camden? Shai gets buckets. So not much to discuss from another convincing Thunder win over the Suns. That was a foregone conclusion, even in the absence of J-Dub. I've been talking about this series like it already was a sweep before it even started. But let's talk about Shai for a second, because we saw a couple of historic performances tonight, Logan. I mentioned what Ayo did. Shai became the second player ever with 40 points on 83% shooting from the field or better in a playoff game. What'd you make of his performance in OKC getting this one done?
That's why he's the GOAT. That's why he's the best in the league, man. Look, I want all of you Shai, Shai Glaze is incoming. I want all of you Shai haters to remember this game when he has one bad game later in the playoffs, and then you can go celebrate. You can't forget all the great ones that he has. And I mean, this is just immaculate stuff. He missed 3 shots in a 42-piece with 8 assists. He's the best player on the planet. He spanked the Suns today. He's the best player on the planet. He is the best player I have ever had the privilege of watching live in the flesh. That's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's the GOAT, man. The Suns are a joke of a franchise. Shout out Dylan Brooks for being creepy and weird.
Whoa. Yeah. You know, you've been a little too hard on the Suns.
No, I haven't.
Because you have, and the reason is neither of us thought they were going to be nearly this good this year. They're in the playoffs. They're going
to win like 20 games, no bull.
Yeah, and they're in the playoffs. Jordan Ott is a really good coach. They've built something. They've built an identity. They've built something with the defense. They've gotten some contributions, career best contributions out of guys you wouldn't have expected. You didn't think Colin Gillespie was going to be the player that he's been.
I did too white. I hit him with the white tax.
Yeah, as you often do. So just chill a little bit on the Suns. This whole incompetent, I mean, obviously everything around KD was a disaster. I still don't like the return they got on the KD trade, but they came back, and guess what? They're getting swept in the first round. Rockets might get swept in the first round. Everybody loses. I guess everybody loses when you do business with Kevin Durant and Jalen Green gets involved. But just chill on the Suns a little bit, because what were they supposed to do in this series? Like, they never had a chance. Nobody had a chance. Everybody's going to get swept by the Thunder in the first round. They're so good. And Shai is just preposterously good. Like, to reach that level of volume and efficiency while seeing aggressive help in doubles all night and racking up 8 assists, and all the while just like sleepwalking to this dominant performance, which is what he's always doing at this point. Like, he can just get to his spot at will. And again, he has seen these super aggressive defenses so much at this point that, like, the reads that he's making it's almost like it's pre-programmed. He's like, boom, I need to get to this spot. This guy's going to come open at this second, and I'm just going to make a pretty routine pass, and it's going to lead to a wide open shot for my teammate because they have to slant their defense towards me to this crazy extent because nobody in the planet can guard me one-on-one. And I'm going to see a shell. I'm going to see teams loading up with crazy gap help and doing whatever they can to force the ball out of my hand in every series. And when they show me those looks, I'm going to be a willing passer. I'm going to be a good decision maker. I'm going to create awesome offense for my teammates. And also, I'm still going to find a way to score 35 a game on 67% true shooting, which is what he's doing in this playoff series against a good defense. Like the Suns, obviously not the most talented team, but they hung their hat on the defensive end all year, and they were able to cause some real disruption for a lot of teams. And Shai is just making it look so easy out there. I mean, he doesn't miss. This is the thing. He doesn't miss. He doesn't make mistakes offensively. He's playing perfect basketball. And with the level that he has been at this season, I really think he might be the best scorer ever, not named Michael Jordan. MJ just tried to shoot me down. He tried to hit me with a lightning bolt for even bringing him up in the same sentence. But he had a GOAT scorer level regular season, as we've talked about.
55% from the field.
Yeah, he's the first player ever to average 34 points per 75 possessions on plus 8% relative true shooting. He had, by every metric, the greatest on-ball scoring season in NBA history. And now he's going, and so far in the playoffs, it's only 3 games, but the numbers are even better than they were in the regular season. What was that stat?
Didn't you say that stat about a Shai isolation and a pick and roll is like the most efficient play type of all time?
They're 2 of the 5 most efficient play types
with a
minimum of 300 possessions on record, which is effectively in history too, because offenses have only gotten more efficient with time. But I was thinking about the top 10 scoring peaks episode we did, and I had him at number 5. And I was like, I don't care if he doesn't have the playoff resume yet. I just know what I'm seeing with Shai, and he already belongs there. And now I am like, truly, he could be number 2. I mean, with MJ, the ability to do it at volume and the off-ball scoring was so next level that I truly don't know if anybody will ever be a better scorer of the basketball than Michael Jordan. He's in a tier of his own. And then the next group is Cade, LeBron, Jerry West. That's who I had. And
some would say Larry Bird.
Some would say Larry Bird, but you need to settle down with that because he is not in these conversations. I was thinking about Kevin Durant, who you did not have in these conversations. You had Larry Bird instead. Shai is just a different level of on-ball scorer. And KD, I mean, whatever you think his scoring peak is, if you think it's with the Warriors, that's when he was his most efficient. But if you look at his best years with the Thunder when he was most athletic, like he did struggle with the turnovers. He did have some inconsistency in terms of the three-point shot that pulled his efficiency down. And again, he wasn't the level of inevitable on-ball force that Shai is, where Shai just gets himself to a hyper-efficient shot from anywhere on the floor every possession down when he has the ball in his hands. And you can say, well, Katie's a better off-ball scorer. That makes him a little bit more portable, whatever. That means he's stressing the defense more when a teammate has the ball. But the extent to which Shai is stressing the defense when he's on the ball is so ridiculous. And the ability to take on that sort of load on ball and lead to such incredible team offense, like I think I just value that every bit as much, if not a little bit more. And then I think about versus LeBron, and it's like him being one of the greatest shot makers ever. The fact that he can get to a 55% mid-range shot whenever he wants, like while he still has this incredible rim pressuring and rim finishing, and his scoring volume is even higher. Like, I don't know if he keeps up this level throughout the postseason and basically does what he did in the regular season, then I think the only better scoring seasons in NBA history belong to Michael Jordan. Like that would be the best scoring season I've seen in my lifetime. The level of volume with this unfathomable efficiency and the ability to do it against any defense is just so incredible. The game looks as easy for Shai right now as it has for any player I've ever watched. I mean, he's 6 of 7 from mid-range tonight. Those are supposed to be the tough ones. Stop it. He shot a very high percentage from mid-range. Very high percentage.
I'm re-looking at my list. One, I would completely do it over. I wouldn't even consider Larry Bird for my 10 spot.
Okay, thank God. Jokic a little too high on that one, too. That was your craziest list, I think.
I did. I would make some big adjustments, but Shai would be... I would bump LeBron to LeBron. I had LeBron too low on this list. I would have LeBron higher. I would have Shai higher. I think I would have Shai top 5, though. I think I would.
Yeah, it's incredible. And again, 2026 Shai is even a different beast than 2025 Shai. He's 12 of 14 out of pick and roll in this series. Like, self-created offense for him is more efficient than it's been from any other player we've ever seen in the history of this game. And he's making the playmaking reads look easy. And it's interesting. It makes me think about a conversation I was having with our good buddy Jason Timpf today, who was telling me, I don't think he'll mind me saying this, why he thinks that Shai isn't like super popular, super beloved. And he was basically like, a lot of these mid-range shots that he's getting to is just like mundane. It's like it's so routine. And I thought that was an interesting perspective, because I do think there is like a flashiness in certain scores that people gravitate towards. I mean, if it's the super explosive athlete, right, like an Anthony Edwards or a Dwayne Wade historically, if it's like the insanely crafty, difficult shot maker like a Kobe Bryant or a Kyrie Irving or whatever, like
Shai just
Shai
makes it
makes a
look
lot of
too
tough
easy.
shots, but it looks pretty easy for him. And like, in terms of just the efficiency of his mid-range game, and I mean that both in terms of like literally how efficiently he puts the ball into the basket, but also like the efficiency of movement, it's much more like Kawhi-esque, where it's my ball handling is so good, I've got great size, I get to my spot, I give you a bump, I just rise up and I shoot it over top of you. It's not a lot of Kobe crazy pivoting fade away. Like, Shai has moments like that, but for the most part, it's I'm walking you down. Oop, that's a little too much room. I'm going to stop. I'm going to pull up. I'm going to shoot over you, right? Or my ability to decelerate is so incredible, and I give you a little forearm, and boom, I create enough space. And he's so good at creating that space. Like, it really does look so easy. And so, because he's not a conventionally explosive athlete or an above the rim guy or somebody who, again, I mean, is going to like make a ton of these really, really tough mid-range shots, because he doesn't need to do that. Like, it does feel like he is just walking through a lot of these games, and he always gets to a shot that he loves. He always gets to a super high percentage shot, or again, he's going to make like a pretty easy pass often to find a teammate wide open, because he doesn't have to make crazy passes because teams have to do so much to deal with his scoring threat. So I love watching guys who make the game look easy. I think sometimes like those dudes get called boring. Maybe it's not the night to bring it up, but I think about how people used to talk about Jokic, right? And everybody would say, oh, he's so boring. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, both Shai and Jokic, and again, maybe I shouldn't talk about Jokic tonight, but like, they share the ability to make stuff that is hard for other people look extremely easy. Part of that is just the ability to score from the intermediate areas of the floor at such a high level, when that's generally a low percentage shot for the rest of the league. But I do find the ability to make 55% of your mid-range shots insanely fun to watch. Like, I don't know, man. Like, when you watch full basketball games and you're not watching highlights, like, I think it's very fun to watch dudes never miss. It's aesthetically pleasing to me when I think a dude can get to a good shot every time and he's never jacking up some bullshit. And it's just like, yeah, that's a great shot. And you're never frustrated with the offensive process. Like, he's always comfortable. He's always in the zone. He's always putting you in a bad spot. And then also, I don't know if this is a me thing or like, I think it's interesting that people aren't like amazed by watching Shai as a driver, because I get it. He doesn't get up above the rim and punch on people, but have you ever seen a dude move like him? Have you ever seen a
No,
dude
I was going to say
slither like him?
yeah, that was the exact word. I'm glad you said that. That was the exact verb I was going to say. It's slitheriness. He just
Like,
slithers through the lane. He gets to all of his spots.
I think he is the most interesting mover that I've ever watched on a basketball court. The ability to get wherever he wants on the floor in packed paints, because like, he's just this ridiculously flexible human being. He has ridiculous balance. He's the best ball handler we've ever seen for his size. Like, he's just this 6'6" dude who has everything in his bag, and who just pirouettes and spins and
yeah.
has incredible footwork to wherever he wants on the court, and the finishing touch and skill and the English he can put on the ball. Like, it's all unbelievably good. I don't know. I get that he makes it look easy, but it's not, is the thing. And no other player in the history of the game has ever done it quite like he does it. And he is such a unique athlete. He's a one-of-a-kind athlete. It's not explosiveness, but the combination of traits he has, nobody else does. I'll never really understand why the NBA world is so resistant to Shai. I mean, I think some of it is just general OKC hatred and people hating the new kids on the block
Narrative.
and hating the best team and false narratives and the free throw stuff, which is obviously so stupid. But it is kind of crazy to me that people can watch a game like today, which is just like pure, beautiful shot making, and like not appreciate that guy more. But then this conversation with Jason, I was like, maybe it's just not flashy enough. But to me, it is. To me, it's like we always romanticize the mid-range. We say that's the most aesthetic part of the game, and oh my God, it's gone by the wayside. And you've got this absolute artist and this guy who also, I mean, gets to the rim and is so effective there in such a fascinating, unique, and artistic way. And it's just kind of strange to me that he isn't more loved, and also that he isn't considered the consensus best player in the world, more or less, by this point. But I think that conversation is about to start in a big way with what's happening to Jokic in this series. But he just feels like the sort of player, I mean, people love their scoring guards. They love their scoring guards. And Shai is one of the very best scoring guards in the history of the game.
Yeah, I don't really know what else he has to do.
Yeah.
I just think, I mean, I don't know why. I'm not going to explain or claim to know why people. I don't hate Shai. I love Shai. I think he's an awesome basketball player. I think he has so many counters. That's what makes him so hard to defend. Is like there's not a move in his bag that he doesn't have. Oh, you bit on the jumper? Okay, well, he's just going to wait, and then he's going to rise and fire. Oh, he's unbelievable. Yeah, I don't get it, man. I do think he makes the game look really easy, though. I think that is a good take by Jason. Like because
that was sort of my spin on it, if I'm being real. I mean, I think that he said, yeah, basically he used the word mundane with some of the mid-range shots, and I was like, yeah, but I think that's essentially what he meant.
Yeah, it's just, but it's easy, and it's like one step. He's like always one step away from getting to that look, man. If it's just his change of pace, if it's like you're saying, he gives you a little elbow and jump back. Also, I don't like how. I don't want to make this a big ref thing right now. I just want him to be consistent. I watched Boston the other night do that a couple of times, and they get caught on it. And I don't know. It's strange to me how refs do pick and choose when they call that foul. The push off, the elbow,
arm.
I would never call it personally. I like hand fighting. I like offhand fighting. Like if it's
it all depends on how you walk the line. If there's extension, then you got to call it. But yeah, if you're just giving them a little chicken wing,
I like a little love tap. I don't think those should ever be called because I like a little offhand fighting. But like if you get hit really hard, if it's like malicious, if it's a nasty, like not trying to create separation but trying to hurt somebody, but
well, I mean, there's just a line to how much you're allowed to use the offhand. They already allow way more of it than
I'm glad.
used
I
to.
like it.
They used to be strict with that offhand. They would call you for an offensive foul, and now it's like everybody is given a fair bit of leeway with that.
I wish they bring back hand checking a little bit, man.
They do, bro. What are you talking about? Hand checking is totally
more
alive and well. More of it. We get a lot of it in the playoffs.
More of it.
I don't know, dude. Jaden McDaniels is hand checking Jamal Murray every single possession. OKC is hand checking dudes every possession. Like it's physical playoff defense. You know, hand checking has been illegal since the 70s. People always talk about, oh, they made it illegal in 2004 and that's what freed up the game. It's like, no, all they did is say again, hey, hand checking is still illegal and now we're just going to call it a little bit more. They can still decide whenever they want to call it or not call it. There's plenty of hand checking going around in playoff basketball.
Yeah, and
it's good.
It's
good.
Like holding. I would never call it. I want him fighting out there.
Terrible take. That is a terrible take. You have to call holding.
Nah, we got to bring defense back to this woke, soft NBA, Carson. You don't get
holding
it.
Is an offensive penalty.
You don't get it.
Your cross sports metaphors aren't working here, man. And I'm super pro defense. All I'm saying is hand checking is already allowed. It's already there. And it is a good thing.
On the offense.
Okay. The thing that I think is something the NBA has to figure out is people just leveling dudes on drives and defense is being held to such a ridiculously high standard of establishing legal guarding position. That's what's really tough. But even that stuff, I think it all evens out in the playoffs. And generally, I don't have many complaints about playoff officiating. OKC, Logan, 36-4 now in games that SGA plays without J-Dub this year. Sucks that J-Dub strained his hamstring, but it is not going to matter until the conference finals, at least. I can tell you that. And OKC has just looked a level above anyone else we've seen so far in the playoffs. Like a lot of these top seeds have struggled. Boston dropped a game. Detroit is down 2-1. The Spurs, obviously, Wemby getting hurt is a factor, but they dropped a game. Like nothing else has felt certain in these playoffs. If I'm being real with you, I've been surprised by like how back and forth and how competitive and how tight some of these series have been. There's a couple that just have not gone so far like I thought they would. And then this is the one that you can just pencil in. No, fuck it. You don't pencil in. You write it in pen. OKC sweep, winning every game by double digits because they're just that amazing. So, yeah. Shout out to Caruso and Dort for hitting threes. That's good. Dort has been feeling the three in these playoffs. That's a big swing factor. It's the biggest swing factor that we've talked about. And they did that tonight. On the other side, anything you want to say about the Suns, Logan? I mean, you called Dylan Brooks a creep. 31 on your head. They're guarding him in single covers. They're daring him to shoot, but he's making shots.
He's cooking.
He is, dude.
I just wish he wasn't such a dick.
Yeah, he is a dick for sure, but it's what we talked about. He's the one dude who has a physical advantage in this matchup because he's so strong, and they are consistently leaving him on an island and treating him very differently than like Book, who they are consistently putting two on the ball against and doing everything they can to deny of the ball and limit his scoring volume. They're fine with Dylan Brooks getting his scoring volume, but he's gotten 30 on them in back-to-back games on decent efficiency. I mean, game one, he was just chucking, but shout out to Dylan Brooks. Other than that, shout out to Oso Ighodaro. He was much better off the roll tonight. He really struggled off the roll last game, and the Thunder were kind of able to leave him. He wasn't really making plays today. If they gave him the lane, if the low man wasn't there stepping up, he was dunking that shit. But you're just looking for little silver linings for the Suns because Shai is too good. OKC's defense is so dominant, and OKC's defense is just doing what they do, man. Like, if they commit to taking you away, they're going to take you away. We've never seen a better defense, truly, at just limiting the volume of stars. They have such an incredible ability to, again, put two on the ball, and they're so fast, and they're so destructive, and they rotate so well that they can just be everywhere, and they don't really give up an advantage by putting two on you, but they keep you from being the one who is making the play. They keep you from being the one who gets any sort of rhythm as a scorer. Book, feel bad for the guy. I would like to say step up, do a little more, but it's like much easier said than done when you're being guarded this way. And every shot that you are taking is really tough. Jalen Green consistently been inefficient. Like OKC is just going to sweep them like it's nothing. That's what they do. That's what they do in the first round.
Are we doubling an open run?
Book would be pissed. And Book has been pissed. Book's been pissed this entire series.
Yeah, dude.
And I get it.
Why do they let OKC's defense cheat and play so hard? It's really whack.
They actually shouldn't be allowed to double, though. That is whack. I agree. And they shouldn't be allowed to have so many good defensive players on the floor at once. That seems pretty unfair.
So they shouldn't be allowed to touch the offensive players at all.
Completely agree. Let's get to these super chats. We got a lot of them to get through tonight. Crazy night of basketball. Nathan says, I hate my Bulls so much. That's too. A man who just saw Ayo Dosunmu go elsewhere and score 43 in a playoff game. Yeah, you should. You should hate them.
Rob Dillingham on your roster.
You had Jaden Ivey on your roster. Those are the guards. Those are the guards of the Chicago Bulls. Joel says, my GOAT, Ayo. Another sad/proud Bulls fan. If the Kings and Pelicans didn't exist, we'd be the worst organization in the league.
Trust me, you guys still have an argument.
Still do have an argument. I mean, what the Kings and Pelicans have, I mean, especially the Kings, if you're just talking overall resume, no one's touching what Sacramento has done. They haven't done shit since they were in Rochester. They didn't even really do shit in Cincinnati. They certainly didn't do shit in Kansas City, and they certainly haven't done shit for 50 years in Sacramento. Bum-ass franchise. But Ayo's amazing. I've always loved Ayo, and boy, is he shining on the biggest stage. Soleil says, don't ever put Jokic over Steph as an offensive engine. I think it's an interesting conversation. I have been on the side of Jokic over Steph.
And
the reason for that has been, I've said his floor is so crazy high offensively, and he has an ability to directly impose himself on the game that surpasses Steph's. But now it's like, if this is the floor for what Jokic offense looks like, Steph may have an off shooting night. Steph may have a night where his volume isn't massive, but the impact floor is crazy high because he is always going to have that almighty gravity of his. He's always going to be pulling the defenses and warping them around him in crazy ways. So we'll have to revisit it after this series. I mean, Steph has objectively led to more all-time great offenses. I do think he's the better offensive ceiling raiser than Jokic because the off-ball value is so unparalleled. But I've always thought Jokic strikes off-ball and on-ball value in scoring and playmaking and all the little things he does, the screening and the offensive rebounding, the spacing, all of that. It blends so perfectly. And that's why I've talked about him as being in the conversation for being the best offensive player ever, but not playing like it right now. What do you think?
I'm just wondering if I don't know. I'm just having all kinds of all-time thinking of Jokic, man.
Valid. Well, I won't put pressure on you now. We can revisit this after we see how the rest of this series
I think I lean
goes.
Steph.
Let's still
I
go
mean,
crazy.
I know what I'm getting in, like, that Steph flurry that always feels inevitable at some point during a game. I'm getting the gravity 100% of the game. I don't have to worry about that. I know what he's going to do to the other defense. He's going to make everybody else's job so much easier offensively. And I don't know, specifically in like the Jokic-Gobert matchup, it's more so just about how, and Gobert's an anomaly. I want to make sure, like, he's like Jason Tatum. Like, he is an
like
anomaly of the sport in the sense that he's one of the greatest defensive players ever. So I want to make sure that that's clear. It's not just like, oh, big bodies, or if you have a guy this size, he's going to disrupt Jokic. No, he has to be a special defender, but
for sure.
It is just making me rethink if, I don't know. I don't see a guy that could do that individually to Steph, what Gobert's doing to Jokic.
It is tough, though, because it's like Steph had the 2016 finals in his greatest season ever, which was a real low point. And he wasn't 100%, but I think that's maybe not a lower offensive low point than what Jokic has right now. It's tricky to talk about in this moment because it almost feels like we're too close to the Jokic disaster, but I definitely think it's obviously totally reasonable to have Steph above Jokic. I think he easily makes a case for being the best offensive player ever. I don't think either of these guys have the best playoff translatability. I think that's where MJ is one of one, but like the regular season stuff from Jokic, I do think he's the best regular season offensive player ever. I believe that. That's what I've been saying. And, well, there was a time where I said he was the best offensive player ever. I did walk that back, luckily, before this disaster. But, I mean, since 2022, last 5 years in the regular season, a plus 15.5 offensive on-off swing, while averaging 27, 13, and 10 on 67% true shooting. Like, I do think that is the most impactful regular season offensive player ever. But in terms of the playoffs, I mean, among the big four, we can include Magic if we want, make it a big five, but MJ, LeBron, Steph, Jokic, Magic, I've considered that the tier one of offense. Throw Nash in there too if you want, make it six. Jokic might have the most like really concerning bad playoff performances of that group at that point. And playoff basketball is the most important thing. So yeah, definitely his legacy is taking a bit of a hit here. Zinc278 says, off topic, but who is your dream podcast guest other than a wedding officiant so you guys can live happily ever after? Love you guys. Thank you, Zinc. I mean, wedding officiant is an obvious 101 here. Other than that, Wemby. I want Wemby on the pod, and I'm just going to talk to him in French the whole time. And Logan, I want you to sit there and look pretty like you do so well because we need you to get him on the pod. He's going to say, I want to talk to that fella, that good-looking fella. And then I'm going to challenge him to chess in French. I don't play, but I would play with Wemby. I watched Wemby play chess in French against this great French chess player, and it was great.
I love you too, Zinc. I would also say Wemby, but because I'm going to organize a revolution with Wemby, and we're going to really.
We can't both say Wemby. I mean, I guess we can.
Okay,
agree.
I'm going to say Matthew Sponauer.
Jesus or something. He is, yes. He's at the top of my list. I see Sponauer clips as I go about my day, and I'm just like, oh my God, I know that guy. I get to call that guy a friend. He's so cool. He's so handsome. He's so funny. He's so charming.
Or maybe Drew or Riv from Pick a Side.
Oh, great men. More great men. And really, really handsome guys. I would probably say Marie Curie.
Wait, we could go all time.
I just want to know about what was up with that radiation. I want to
Vinny Testaverde.
Vinny Testaverde. You know, that is actually probably attainable. We probably could get Vinny on the pod. We just need to put a call to John Gruden. He had Vinny over in his quarterback camp, whatever. Had him doing his snap count. It was awesome. It was really exciting to watch. Yeah. So many great choices. So many great choices. Judas, just so I could give him a piece of my mind. Say, you dick. You dick. What the hell is even wrong with you? John Wilkes Booth, just so I could fucking elbow him right in his ugly mug and say, you weren't even a half decent actor. Nobody knew who you were until you did that terrible thing and you ruined that play. Lots of people, I guess, I'd like to have on the pod, but Wemby is the top choice. Gabriel says, fun fact, these playoffs, Jokic, Gordon, Murray has a net of plus 10.5. Jokic, Murray, no Gordon is minus 37. The only other combination of these three that has a positive net is Murray by himself on the court.
That's crazy, Gabriel.
Yeah, but it's a 4-game sample. I think it's too small a sample to take away anything in terms of lineup data, especially when the off is like, Jokic and Murray are only missing a few minutes a game. But I do think that Murray has done well in the non-Jokic minutes. I think that's the takeaway. Well, actually, no, I agree with the takeaways. Gordon is insanely important. Murray has done well in the non-Jokic minutes. I just don't think it's actually meaningful data when it's from that small a sample size. But thank you for sharing, Gabriel, nonetheless. Sam says, Nuggets soft as Charmin. McDaniels owns them. Wish we could have seen healthy Ant destroy these frauds.
True.
Jaden McDaniels does own them, bro. He's
your dad.
A dog. He is such a dog. He talked all that shit and he backed it up big time. Although, he talked about how much their defense sucks. I will reiterate, the Nuggets defense has not been the problem in this series. It's their offense. Their offense has struggled way too much for the standard that we hold them to on that side of the ball. Vokron says, Jokic, who should have 4 straight MVPs, is he washed / on his way to being washed?
Jokic is unwashed. Watch, bro.
Dude, I don't blame people for asking. These last 3 games have been so bad, but no, I thought Jokic at his best this regular season was as good as he's been, but I do think he's got a problem with these insane defenses he's going to have to go through in the West. Ironically, he does the best against Wemby by far compared to Minnesota and OKC. If you're looking at the top defenses in the conference, like he wants that Spurs matchup. So he's still one of the greatest players ever. Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, maybe if he just goes and says, fuck basketball, I'm going to go play with my horses, man. That is always a possibility in the back burner of Jokic's mind. No, I don't think Jokic is washed. He's so good regardless of, like, over a bigger sample size that's not always against the Minnesota Timberwolves. No, he's going to crush a lot of teams. I do think, though, I think the Nuggets are going to have a really long, hard conversation this offseason about the type of players they need to put around him and drastically retool this roster. You think about what they did last season with Michael Porter Jr. to get off that money and to create flexibility down the rest of the roster. I think they're going to have to do something similar with Christian Brown. And then some of these other little pieces, man, I don't know, they have to make up a ton of ground on all of these teams that we've talked about. OKC,
dude, I don't know how
Minnesota.
they're catching OKC and the Spurs.
I
Those
don't
two
either.
With them being as great as they are, as young as they are, with so many pieces you love, and these players who are at Jokic's level, if not above it. The really interesting conversation, because honestly, Shai over Jokic, my mind is made up at this point. Wemby versus Jokic becomes an interesting conversation depending on how Wemby performs in these playoffs. And for now, I still have Jokic in the 2 spot above Wemby, but there is a path for me saying, yeah, I think it's easier to build a championship level team around Wemby right now because he's the greatest defensive player maybe this century, and he's also awesome offensively. Okay, Gabriel is back. Thank you again. Tim Connolly firmly cemented in the front office podium with Brad and Presti. I think he has to be. Yeah. He's built 2 kick-ass teams in the last half decade and reshaped this Timberwolves team and had to replenish for Mike Conley getting super old and did so. They missed on the Dillingham pick, which is a knock against him. Presti is one of one.
Is Danny Ainge still in there? Does he have tenure?
No.
Bro, Danny Ainge,
if we're doing washed conversations,
built the Celtics
a long time ago now.
Yeah, but those 2 picks became Brown and Tatum. That still matters.
In his career resume, if we're talking about who is the best doing it right now, though, no.
I think the Celtics aren't a championship contender without Brown and Tatum.
Brad Stevens made the big trades that put them over the top.
Yeah.
Brad Stevens went out. Danny Ainge got Derek White, and you know how I feel about Derek White.
I do.
But no, at this point, Brad Stevens put not just the finishing touches, he made 2 big moves to build the championship team. Since then, has continued to rework the roster to make them a contender still. Like, yes, shout out Danny Ainge, amazing career in Boston, but we're not moved by what he's doing in Utah and the suppression of Ice Bryce Sensabaugh. We're not moved by that. I think that is the correct podium. I think Tim Connolly belongs on there.
No, Nico.
I am impressed by Brian Wright with the Spurs. He has built a hell of a team.
Wemby tax.
You get a Wemby, but also, and you can say, oh, these were super high picks too, but they hit on Castle in a draft in which there were a lot of misses. Dylan Harper, maybe a bit more obvious, but he's just so awesome that I love it. Cornette, phenomenal signing. Like Champagny, good undervalued basketball player. I think they've just made a lot of good moves.
Kobe.
Even like the Vassell and Keldon Johnson picks have worked out reasonably well when that was a question for a while. Like, it's a lot of homegrown talent in San Antonio.
Kobe Altman.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's on the podium. I don't know if he's medaling. I think those are the 3 guys that are getting medals, but
yeah. Kobe Altman, I want to see it lead to a championship, but he's definitely made some good moves. The Mitchell trade was a good move. He gave up a lot, but it was a good move. Allen extension, good value. I don't know. No, he's not on the podium. He's good. He's built a very good team in these last few years, but I don't know that I love the Harden trade as a big picture move. Okay. Gabriel is back.
Drafted Mobley. Drafted Tyson.
Let Ty Jerome walk. Let Ty Jerome walk.
True.
Let Ty Jerome walk. Let Ty Jerome walk.
You know what? Okay.
Gabriel says, any chance Jaden and Jokic get suspended? I sure hope not.
Did you see that?
I did.
I mean, Jokic is a kind of dirty for that. I don't care about the unspoken rules, Jank. Hey, bro, don't get spanked and get all moody. You got spanked and you're down 3-1 in a series. That's my bright idea. It's like when Arthur Smith for the Steelers, when he was with Atlanta and he got all peeved that, I don't know, was it the Saints or somebody put it on him? They scored extra.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Arthur, you just mad that you get to get fired, bro. Like,
well,
I don't.
It is disrespectful. I mean, I think it's bad form on both sides, but yeah, Jokic, you got to keep your composure.
I'm just saying, don't lose. Don't get destroyed in the fourth quarter. Don't get all butthurt. Contain your emotions and don't do dirty shit. Like, you can talk about all the unwritten rules things. I don't. Be a grown man. Control your emotions, man. I put that on Jokic, and I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that was pretty bad form by the Timberwolves, though. Like, you don't do that. You don't do that. You don't run the length of a court when everybody has stopped.
Real beef.
It's real beef, but it's lame. But I agree. I mean, Jokic's reaction was definitely excessive. You can't do that. But I thought that was very classless from Jaden McDaniels, too. And Mike Conley. Mike Conley knew what he was doing there. What the hell are you throwing a pass ahead for? You want Jaden McDaniels to start a little bit more shit, but I hope they don't get ejected. That would suck. I mean, it's just playoff bad blood. They hate each other. Let them hate each other and let them hash it out.
Guys already out.
Yeah, seriously, we don't need any more dudes missing playoff games, especially in that series. Hey, it's Ash says, how did we get Ayo for so little? This guy is sick.
Yeah, right. Great question.
That's what I've been saying, dude. That's what I've been saying. It's insane. Just takes 4 seconds to get Ayo Dosunmu on your team. Why didn't the Houston Rockets do that? I don't know, but he is such a good basketball player. Banuk says, I understand his limitations, but do you think Brunson's game will be better in another series should they beat Atlanta? Quiet night from him in a win. He can't really play worse, if I'm being honest. He's been very, very disappointing in this series. He has struggled.
Yeah, I mean, he had one really good quarter, and it was the first quarter of this series, you know? Yeah, I do think he's going to look better. I mean, Brunson's been one of the best playoff performers in basketball for 3 seasons. But, I mean, if he doesn't, Brunson's another one of these guys, man. Very rigid to build around. Like, obviously, he's not the offensive player that Jokic is, but specifically, like, what he provides to a team. I don't know, man. I wonder about Brunson, too, in long term. There is a question about OKC later that I think Brunson is the answer for, though.
Ooh, interesting.
But I think he will look better. Brunson's been awesome in the playoffs, and I just think this is a really tough matchup for him.
It is a tough matchup, but you're walking into Boston after this. I think that's a tough matchup, too, although he did play very well offensively against them last year in the playoffs. I mean, he's just such a good shot maker that you expect him to be better than this, but Dyson Daniels and Nah and a team that switches well and a team that is going to put two on you a lot and force the ball out of your hands. Like, it's a bad combination for Brunson. My biggest issue, other than his defense, which is so atrocious, and that's going to remain a problem. That's going to be a big problem against Boston. The passing is just not good enough. It's just not good enough. And so you can be as good of an isolation pick and roll scorer as you want, but if teams are able to force the ball out of your hands and you can't make good decisions, and he hasn't been protecting the ball well in this series, that's a big problem. So, but I do think he'll play better. I think this has been the floor for Brunson, honestly. Evil Crisis says 3 games shouldn't change your opinion, but Paolo is doing everything you want from a processing standpoint. This is who we want to see, promising at least. Also, time for Pistons to trade for Booker. I would love Booker to the Pistons. And I mostly agree. Paolo's passing, again, has been definitely my favorite part in this series. This game, I wish he was doing more initiating out of the post because I did think some of his drives were a bit out of control. But, I mean, he's not really taking jumpers unless it's necessary. So I tend to agree. I think overall, since the second play-in game, it's been encouraging from Paolo, but he still does have a lot of flaws that do come through in all these games and do still really limit his efficiency offensively. And he also makes a lot of mistakes defensively off ball. But yeah, I mean, generally, I agree. I want to see Paolo playing bully ball. I want to see him creating for others. I think he's mostly made good decisions. So I would generally agree with that.
Yeah, promising, I think, is the right word. You just want to see marginal improvement. I will say, I did like his passing today, and like even though he wasn't, anytime he would get a defender to sag off, he was normally kicking out to a jump shooter, and they made shots tonight. So it's not going to happen instantaneously. And I agree with you on some of the other things, like the awareness and the positioning and the defensive stuff. But yeah, it is promising, at least, especially from what he was doing in that play-in game. But it's got to be more consistent. And that's the thing with Paolo. It's not really about can he do it? Is he capable of doing these things? Can he sustain it and continue this over a prolonged period of time is really the question. I think a Booker trade for Detroit would rock. Him and Cade would be an awesome offensive duo with his defense.
That would be so awesome. I would love that. An off-ball scorer like that who also good enough size. He can hang defensively, like wouldn't really compromise their identity. That would be super fun to see. Namor says, how you feel about Jokic losing his composure? I think we touched on that. Not good, bad. And yeah, he's had a couple of moments. And it's like, obviously at the very end, that's really bad. But again, he was not composed on the court in the fourth quarter. He wasn't making good decisions. He wasn't making good plays. So definitely bad, man. Again, this is where it's like the Nuggets don't feel like they've quit in any of these games. So that's something. Like they're still fighting, but the wheels have come off. And I think a lot of that is on Jokic. Gabriel is back and says, how much of a role does player development make for stars? For example, does SGA ever become who he is today if he stays on the Clippers with Kawhi?
I'm inclined to say no.
It's an interesting question. He was so good in the playoff series that we did see him in LA when he was still such a young bull. And so I think the talent was very obvious, but I don't know that he ever would have had the opportunity. I mean, with PG in front of him and then presuming they still make the Harden trade. I don't know. It's hard to say because it's such a butterfly effect situation. Everything would be so different, but absolutely opportunity makes a big difference. I think player development in terms of like the staffs, there's some impact there, but a lot of the work these guys do is independent in the off season. And so much of what Shai does is just God-given ability. I mean, he works his ass off, but he works his ass off because he chooses to, not because OKC is like, hey, you should be doing the most ridiculous balance and flexibility work that anybody does. It's like, that's Shai. And so it's hard to say. Maybe not quite the player that he's become, but I think at some point Shai would have been too good to keep in like a bench role or a tertiary role. Like, I think more or less he always would have established himself as a really great player. Amadou says, I'm ready to say it's Shai at the top, then Wemby. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad
how we
take.
feel about
I
the
think it's
Wemby GOAT
valid.
agenda. I just need to see more than one playoff game out of Wemby. Like, I'm still going to defer to Jokic in that regard, but it's definitely a possibility. Vokron says, who's the worst active player you could sub for SGA and the Thunder would still be title contenders? This is where you were thinking Brunson? I think it's a great choice.
Yeah, I was thinking Brunson, but with where we did our lists, am I crazy for looking deeper down the list than that? Like, when I think I
Give
got
me an
this guy's
example.
ranking wrong. Like LeBron. What do you think about that? It's
No,
weird. It's janky.
I don't think their offense would function well enough with LeBron. I don't think he can take on the sort of load that they need from a ball handler. And I actually think Brunson is a perfect choice here because he operates in similar ways to Shai offensively, in the sense that he does a lot of work from the middle of the floor, very high volume pick and roll isolation player, score first, keeps turnovers really low. Like, you could slot him into that offense and he could do a lot of the same stuff. The defense would obviously take a step back because now you're having to compensate for him on that end, but the defense around him would still be so good and he would make the offense pretty good. I think that's honestly the perfect choice because I think if you go outside of a guard, then the roster construction just doesn't
Yeah,
really
that's
make that
fair.
much sense. So I like Brunson as a choice for that for sure. Kill Move says, do you guys game much? I never really hear you nerds talk about video games. And what are your favorite games of all time? I'm not a gamer, sadly. Logan?
Yeah, I honestly the only game that I play like now is like college football
Roblox?
because it rocks. But
Club Penguin?
yeah, when I was a kid, I mean, I loved all time. I'm trying to think. The first game I ever played was The Simpsons Hit and Run, bro. That shit was a banger.
Did it teach you
Um,
about violence? And did it teach you that to be a
no,
good
man,
citizen, you
I
have to
went
hit
down to the
people with your
Quickie
car?
Mart. I hung out with Apu, man. I went to the
That's
school.
nice.
I picked up Bart and Lisa. You know,
Wait,
I
what was your role? Were you Homer or were you just a
actually you get to
guy?
play as you get to play as Homer, you get to play as Apu, you get to play as Marge, Bart,
That's awesome
Lisa.
that you were doing brown face at a young age. That's awesome.
Freaking sweet, man.
Yeah.
Not brown face. The Simpsons Hit and Run. I have
Sure,
to be
sure.
clear about that.
Yeah. No, for sure. I only ever played sports games. My favorite sports game ever? I'm glad you asked. I mean, I do love the college football games, and I loved the last college basketball game, which was
EA
10.
Sports,
EA Sports, yeah, college basketball
NCAA,
10
Blake
with
Griffin.
Blake on the cover.
Yeah.
Yep. And Kevin Love was the one before that. I love recruiting. My favorite thing of sports games has always been building teams, the GM side of it. But I think recruiting is way more fun than just, oh, I can make this trade. And like, it's too easy oftentimes in like,
100p.
especially 2K, you can just jumpstart this crazy
Madden
rebuild.
2 has got cheese.
Yeah. Like, obviously all these games are built so you're gonna eventually like become awesome unless you're like 4 years old and you don't know how to operate this stuff. But in the college games, at least it takes a little bit longer, and recruiting is just more interesting. I just think it's a more interesting, complex process than, oh, I'm just going to propose this trade and now that guy's on my team. So I always really enjoyed that. Okay, Dylan says, if SJ wins another ring this year, where would you put him all time? I have to see, but I'll answer that in terms of peak, because I think that's a little easier to do with an active player who's 27 years old. I actually think he already might be at a top 10 peak of all time.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
I
so,
like it.
dude.
I like it.
I think he's there. And I think all time, I mean, he's going to be a 2-time MVP. That would make him a 2-time finals MVP. Like, that's the resume of a top 20 player ever, probably even at 27 years old. I'm probably like right around 20. In that range, you've got like Dirk, Giannis. You got
Yeah,
some really
I think
good
it's about
players
right.
hovering around there, but it's like,
Kawhi.
yeah. I mean, Shai hasn't just stacked first team all NBAs like those guys because, they just been at the
Yeah,
level
that's
for
why it's peak.
longer.
Or no, you're saying
No,
this
I'm
is
talking
actually
about
for
career. I
career.
was saying career, he'd be
Okay.
top 20. Peak, I think he's clear of those guys. I'm going to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Peak, I think he's hovering more in like the 10 to 12 range with like, yeah, Jokic, Duncan, Steph, Magic. Like, I think those are the conversations that Shai is in. I think this could end up being, if we count MJ as just like one spot, the second greatest guard season in NBA history, depending on how he finishes this postseason. But like, I think that's a real possibility.
Agreed.
M22 452 says, how do you guys see the NBA evolving in the next few years based on the last few playoffs? I see more traditional point guards, more emphasis on athleticism, rebounding, etc., reverting back a bit.
What do you mean by traditional point guards? Because I actually think that we're moving completely away from that.
Well, I think there's sort of a duality here because I think you can't move completely away from it, I think is what we've seen, because there are certain offenses that have attempted that. And it's like, now I don't mean traditional point guards, I mean point guards. Like pass first point guards are never coming back, but a small guard who can actually meaningfully handle and create in terms of half court offense, like the Atlanta Hawks without CJ McCollum would be a totally different team for the worse. The Houston Rockets without Fred VanVleet are a totally different team for the worse. So these teams that sort of tried to push the no point guard thing to the extreme, I think you do see the drawbacks of that. However, Tyus Jones is never finding his way into an NBA rotation again. Like just the nature of what is expected of a guard has become so much more about being able to threaten the defense as a scorer and a playmaker. And so that's not going to change. But I think the role of the guard, the role of the point guard is a very interesting thing to monitor. But yeah, I mean, as bigger players become more skilled, those guys are going to eat up all the spots. I just don't know how close we really are to a world where it's like every point guard is a 6'6" freak like
that's what
Shai and Cade and stuff.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know if it's going to be I don't know if it's going to be in the next few years, but I definitely think that's on the horizon. Just it's going to be.
Yeah, but I think it's going to take a while.
I don't think so. I think the crop coming up. I think. I don't know what you mean when you say a while. I think in the next decade.
I think like 10. Okay, I was going to say like 10 years. I could see that.
I think that these guys coming up are so talented, man. Like the average basketball player coming up in drafts is just exponentially more skilled than guys from previous generations. Like I think it is. Yeah. I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be like a takeover. It's going to be 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" guys. It's going to be size and skill combined. That's what's going to be the most valuable thing. And obviously, this goes without saying, but athleticism combined. But that's where I think we're headed. And it is beautiful. It's basketball utopia. And I can't wait.
Yeah, I agree with that generally. I mean, I think that's where we're headed. How quickly we get there, we'll see. But absolutely. I mean, if you look at the top guard prospects who are getting drafted in recent years, it's like this past year. I mean, Dylan Harper, amazing positional size. Darren Peterson, amazing positional size. Even going back to Castle. I mean, even VJ, Khan, these guys are not primary ball handlers. So you understand that. But like they're big guards. Nobody wants the 6'2" guy who they have to hide. And you turn to that guy in necessity if your roster lacks elsewhere. Now, there are some guys who are so good that they're always going to justify a team taking a swing and trying to build around them, like a Brunson or whatever. But we also see all of the major drawbacks of that. So generally, I do take a anti-small guard stance, but I think that they are essential in certain circumstances. In terms of emphasis on athleticism, 100%. I mean, I've talked about, I think there's a defensive revolution going on. I think defense is dictating more than it was a few years ago. And they've really caught up defensively in terms of scheme and personnel. Rebounding, I think we've already seen that. I don't know if that's going to happen more, but like the offensive rebounding rates going dramatically up again over these last couple of years, with teams going double big to counter other teams going small and prioritizing more perimeter focused rosters. Also just like corner crashes, right? I mean, the possession game has become so valued over these last couple of years. The transition margin has become so valued over these last couple of years. I don't know how much further that can be pushed. I think that's probably going to remain generally the same. But yeah, I think the more I think about it, if anything, I do think we're probably going to go a little bit further away from guard pick and roll oriented offenses, at least in the sense of like one dude running a bunch of pick and roll, because that's already started to happen, especially when it's a small guard. If teams can switch and they're super athletic, and they can give you problems as a scorer.
Yeah, I think you just need more guys. Everybody needs to be able to, I mean, to create, to put the ball on the floor, to shoot, and that's where we're headed to.
For sure.
Just everybody on the court is going to be able to do everything. That's just going to be
no weak links. No weak links is definitely going to remain a priority and probably become even more. So I do think like transition is really going to be pushed to the max because, like, I mean, even versus 5 years ago, teams are scoring 25% more transition points per game. And the teams that can keep you out of transition are benefiting even more. And those are the teams that are dominating in a lot of spots, like the Thunder and the Spurs and the Pistons. So it's an interesting question. I do think ultimately it's about no weaknesses. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. It's about no weaknesses and leveraging athleticism as much as possible to create margin in all these different ways. Sham God
Hold up,
says,
hold up,
Logan,
hold
you
up.
think Shai is better than Prime LeBron? Yes.
Oh no, just before we move on to that guy, he sent in
Yeah.
a follow up. He said he meant
Okay.
more in terms of ball handling. I think with the traditional
For
point guards is what
point
he's saying.
guards. Yeah, you always need ball handling. Ball handling is so important, and that's what you've seen. You can't skirt that. You can't skirt that. You need dudes who can comfortably handle in the half court, and that's where definitely until there are 6, 7 aliens who can do that for every team, teams are going to need guards on the floor for sure. You cannot bypass that. Now, Sham God says, Logan, you think Shai is better than Prime LeBron? You said he's the best player you've seen live.
Yes. LeBron would be second 2016 to 2018. The reason,
That's so
and
crazy.
I mean, it's close. You could go with LeBron because of the power element, which I obviously get. He's one of the greatest downhill rim pressures of all time. That version of LeBron had complete control of the game. It's one of the smartest versions of any player, but like I also just don't want to overlook how great SGA is at this point right now. I think he's a better scorer than that version of LeBron. I think that he's just a better shooter. He's just unstoppable in the mid range. And then the biggest thing to me is I just think Shea has closed the gap as a playmaker. In the way teams are slanting their defenses towards Shea, they are putting 2 to 3 guys on him in coverage every time, and he is killing teams as a playmaker. Like it may sound ridiculous. I don't really think it is. I think Shea is just that fucking great. And I mean, what you mentioned earlier about the second greatest guard scoring season of all time, I agree, and that's a component of
For
what Shea is
sure.
doing and why I hold him in such high regard. He is one of the greatest players I've ever seen, and for my money, and guys I've watched live, I do think he's the best player I've ever watched.
LeBron did average in the playoffs over those 3 years 31, 9, and 8 on like plus 6% relative true shooting, while he improved his teams overall. This is regular season and playoffs by
How
13
many times
points
did he turn the ball over a
offensively.
game?
He turned the ball over, let's see,
4.
3 point something. Yeah, actually 4 flat in the playoffs. I mean, as I said, I think if Shea maintains what he's doing as a scorer, this is a better scorer than LeBron James. However, even though I agree that Shea has taken a leap as a playmaker and he doesn't need to make that many complex reads because his scoring value is that supreme, LeBron was a supercomputer. He would give you 34 a game on incredible efficiency, and he would make all of the most advanced reads too, like one of the handful of greatest passers we've ever seen. And when he engaged defensively, there was a different level of impact he could get to on that side of the ball compared to Shea, especially like 2016 when he wasn't as good offensively as he was in 2017 and 2018. Like it's not like he was the same player across these 3 years, but he was amazing offensively, and he was like still in 2016 in the playoffs, which is really the only time he locked in defensively over those 3 years. But he was like a top 10 defender on the planet. I mean, he was a defensive monster, the rim protection, the speed, the matchup versatility. I think that combination of scoring, playmaking, defense from LeBron is just unbelievable. I think he played the greatest 3 game stretch in NBA history in the 2016 finals. So I still go that version of LeBron for sure. But you know how much I love Shea. And again, if you're talking scoring, if he keeps doing this, I have never watched a better scorer in real time. I will say that. Also, I actually think that LeBron's best season is 2013 with the Heat. I think that's when he peaked, but I was a little younger then. I wasn't as locked in. So I was definitely getting a closer, more informed look at LeBron in real time from 2016 to 2018. Brennan Baker says Jokic and Jaden won't get suspended, but Gordon left the bench. Was there still time on the clock?
Yeah, there's like a second.
Damn, that's so stupid.
It was.
Yeah, maybe he will then. I don't know. We'll see what the league office does. I mean, that's supposed to be an automatic suspension, but it isn't always necessarily. Like if they say, hey, that was a crazy all around scuffle, nobody's going to get suspended, they can make that decision if they want. But We'll see. Okay, M22452 says, interesting on the no weak links. What about a guy like Rudy? Not viable in the near future?
Guy like Rudy's always viable, I feel.
Yeah, Rudy's interesting because I don't know that he qualifies as a weak link offensively because he provides positive value in several
Screening.
different ways. He's an awesome screener. He's a great offensive rebounder. He is an efficient play finisher. He has pretty big offensive limitations, but I think he does enough good stuff where it's like he's bringing enough value offensively while he is an absolutely unbelievable all-time great defensive player. I think a better example of a weak link is like Dyson Daniels, who's an awesome defender, but offensively is a disaster. And I think you have seen the negative effects of that in this playoff series. So I think broadly, the objective for teams is avoid having somebody on your roster in your key lineups on either side of the ball who teams can exploit for having a major weakness. And if that is a guy who you lean on, now you need to have the depth where you can turn to somebody else who can give them a different look if things are going poorly for the other player in a specific matchup. I think that's broadly what we're talking about here. And like, I think the Timberwolves are actually a fantastic example of kind of achieving this vision where they have nobody who you can go at defensively and they have nobody who can't make a play offensively outside of Rudy, who again is just going to sit in his role and play his role and do so reasonably well. Logan?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's well said. I just, yeah, no, I mean, I think you summed it up perfect. Yeah,
Cool.
I don't really
Cool.
have a ton to add. I think that I don't know. I do think Rudy provides value offensively in ways that people don't appreciate. And so I couldn't fully call him a weak link. And also, I mean, it's just a position too. Like he's massive, he's strong. He
Yeah.
just isn't a weak link in the way that other guys are that are non-shooters that can't put the ball on the floor, that don't provide value in other ways. And he's literally just one of the greatest defensive players of all time. If you disagree with
Yeah.
that, I don't think you've watched enough Rudy Gobert.
I don't know that anybody is going to disagree with that out loud right now. I think you'd have to be out of your mind. On that note, we appreciate you guys tuning in. This was a long one, fittingly so, because it was an insane night of basketball, but we will be back tomorrow night and we expect to see all of you guys there. We appreciate you as always. If you want to find more of our stuff, we hope you know where to on YouTube. You can listen to full shows across all audio platforms and you can follow us across social to get all of our daily short form content. And with that, as always, I've been Carson Brabber.
I've been Logan Camden.
And this was NerdSesh.